Chapter 761. A Trip to Qingyun Marketplace, Ferry of the Zither, _1 hour and a half later. By Lake Mountain Lu Family Mansion. Zi Xiao, in these days, you have been the one who's worked hard taking care of home. Lu Chongqing said to Ling Zixiao. His trip to Qingyun Market was initially just to escort someone there and then return. But after writing to Xiaoxia, he learned that right at that time the Qingyun Market was holding an auction that took place once every 10 years, and she was planning to go as well. So, he delayed his departure by a month, intending to participate in this auction to see if there might be some gains. Incidentally, he planned to invite Xiaoxia to buy Lake Mountain. After all, he felt it was necessary to involve Xiaoxia, the mother, in matters such as their daughter awakening to the blood talisman spiritual body. Rest assured, my husband, I am taking care of our home. Ling Zixiao, dressed in a blue gown with an elegant face and a gentle voice, said. Her meridians and dantian had largely recovered by now, enabling her to barely use her foundation establishment mana. And with the Mount Sumeru Tree King guarding the home, they need not fear even core formation invaders. Lu Chongqing nodded in response. With Ling Zixiao at home, he felt quite reassured. He then arrived at the Lu family mansion. Greetings, uncle. Inside the hall, a man who appeared to be in his 30s, with a handsome face, dressed in green brocade clothes and sharp eyes, bowed respectfully to Lu Chongqing. He was Lu Muping, the foundation establishment seed of the Lu family's current generation. Now that you're ready, let's set off. Lu Chongqing nodded slightly to Lu Muping in front of him. Although he had spent many years in Qingzhou Mountain, he wasn't very familiar with Lu Muping. Theirs was a nodding acquaintance. Yes, uncle. Although their ages were not far apart, Lu Muping showed great respect to Lu Chongqing. After all, as Lord of By Lake Mountain, Lu Chongqing enjoyed a fierce reputation in the Qingyun region, especially in the surrounding areas. This reputation had been forged through 2 great battles fought by Lu Chongqing himself. Moreover, he knew that his foundation establishment elixir, too, came from Lu Chongqing, so he felt awed and grateful to him. Soon, Lu Chongqing and Lu Muping, disguising their appearance and whereabouts, left By Lake Mountain for Qingyun Market. This trip was meant to keep their foundation establishment attempt at Qingyun Market a secret from others, so as not to let anyone know that someone from Qingzhou Mountain was attempting to establish their foundation. 2.5 years earlier, the incident where Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoga suppressed the robber cultivator in Red Leaf Valley Market had boosted their fame. But it also made many neighboring families and powers wary of them, unwilling to see them continue to rise and grow stronger. After all, nobody wanted an additional top-tier family power in the surrounding region. A cultivation family. 20 days later, a spirit boat stopped outside Qingyun Market. 2 middle-aged men in black robes stepped off the boat. They were none other than Lu Chongqing and Lu Muping, who had come to Qingyun Market for foundation establishment. Qingyun Market. Lu Muping looked at the premier marketplace of the Qingyun region before him. Although he had many years of experience traveling abroad, he had never been to this Qingyun Market. Let's go in. Lu Chongqing, who had been there twice, seemed familiar with the route. He led Lu Muping to queue up for registration and enter the market. Then he took out a yin-yang sensing talisman and sent a message to Xiaoxia. About half an hour later, a tall figure in white clothes and a white skirt, a fairy with a beautiful face and a graceful demeanor that seemed like the bright moon in the sky, approached. Shiyu. Lu Chongqing looked at the figure and sent a message with his voice. Chongqing. Xiaoxia's cool and majestic eyes immediately softened. The young one greets Fairy Xiao. Upon seeing Xiaoxia, Lu Muping found it hard to hide his amazement. But he dared not look for too long for fear of defiling the fairy before him and bowed with his hands clasped together. Xiaoxia nodded, her expression cool, her head inclining slightly. She knew that the person before her was the one Lu Chongqing had mentioned, who was about to break through to foundation establishment. Let's go. Without much conversation, she led Lu Chongqing and Lu Muping to an already arranged Type A cave dwelling. For an energy-refining cultivator, this was indeed the best place to break through to foundation establishment. Muping, are you fully prepared for every contingency? If you need anything else, you can purchase it here in Qingyun Market. Lu Chongxing looked at Lu Muping and asked, Uncle, I am fully prepared. You have done much for me on this journey. Lu Muping answered respectfully. Even though he had been psychologically prepared, now that the moment of foundation establishment was upon him, he felt quite nervous. After all, for most cultivators, reaching foundation establishment was the ultimate life goal. Okay, since that's the case, you should prepare in the cave dwelling for foundation establishment without any nervousness or haste. Adjust your state and then proceed to break through. Lu Chongxing patted his shoulder and said, with the Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir, 3 Foundation Establishment Spiritual Objects, and the insights into foundation establishment, unless something went wrong, the chances of success were great. Yes. Lu Muping nodded, entered the cave dwelling, and started preparing for foundation establishment. Afterward, Lu Chongxing and Xiao Xie went to another inn and exchanged their feelings of longing for each other. After that, Xiyu, do you have time after this auction is over? Lu Chongxing asked softly. Chongxing, is there something you wish to discuss? Xiao Xie's face lost its coldness, showing a blend of laziness, charm, and seductiveness, and her manner was captivating. If you're free, accompany me to buy Lake Mountain afterwards. It's about Wangshu. Lu Chongxing wrapped his arms around the fairy's jade body, speaking softly. What has happened to Wangshu? Xiao Xie immediately showed a worried and anxious look upon hearing her daughter's name. It's certainly good news. Lu Chongxing chuckled softly at Xiao Xie's anxious appearance. Then he pinched her soft cheek, saying softly, as to what it is, allow your husband to keep it a secret for now. You will find out soon enough. He thought, only news of their daughter Lu Wangshu could make Xiao Xie so anxious and worried. Chapter 762. A trip to Qingyun Market. Fairy of the Zither. Great news? Okay, I'll go back with you then. Xiao Xie immediately let go of the nervousness that had suddenly arisen and was curious about what the great news Lu Chongxing had mentioned was. 1.5 months later, the Qingyun Market's auction took place. The auction was bustling with excitement, and even with Xiao Xie's connections, Lu Chongxing managed only to secure a spot in the ordinary seats. The distinguished guest seats were reserved for notable figures from the Qingyun sect or those with reputable names and faces from the surrounding areas. To this, Lu Chongxing was indifferent. He attended the auction just to join in on the excitement and see if he could snag some good finds. As the auction was about to start, cultivators poured in continuously, among whom were even the false core immortals. Huan Yin sect. The leader is the fairy of the Qin from the Huan Yin sect. Just then, for women clad in rainbow-colored dresses adorned with white ribbons, dignified and graceful, with the air of immortals, walked into the auction, causing quite a stir when someone exclaimed. Lu Chongxing also turned his head to look. The women had their hair done in an immortal style and wore veils over their faces, making it hard to discern their features. Only a pair of beautiful eyes were visible outside. The more it was so, the more it gave off a misty and ethereal beauty, making one eager to get a glimpse of the celestial face beneath the veil. So these are the cultivators from the Huan Yin sect? Lu Chongxing remained calm, with a slight raise of his eyebrows, unperturbed. In the Jiang country cultivation realm, besides the Heavenly Sword sect, Qingyun sect, Wuxia sect, and Spirit Taming sect, there were also 2 sects, 3 cities, 3 noble families, and 8 forces of core formation strength. The Huan Yin sect was one of the 2 sects. The sect was quite distinctive. It was dominated by female cultivators, who cultivated music mastery, excelled in singing and dancing, and dabbled in illusion and bewitching techniques. Many large marketplaces had businesses under their name, such as the Huan Yin Pavilion and Miao Yin Pavilion. The music and dance of the sect's disciples could refine one's emotions, purify the spirit, and even assist in breaking through realms. Many found themselves needing to adjust their state when attempting to break through bottlenecks. And the music cultivation techniques of the Huan Yin sect could stir people's emotions, bringing calm to the mind and dispelling distractions. As for the title fairy of the Qin, Lu Chongxing had only heard of it. She seemed to be a disciple of the Huan Yin sect's sect leader. Because of her profound attainments in music, people referred to her as Fairy of the Qin. The four women only appeared for a moment before walking straight into one of the second floor's private boxes, restoring tranquility to the venue. A short while later, the auction began. The auction, held once every 10 years, started with items of the Qi refinement realm level. Compared to other items, these were relatively rare and uncommon materials. Lu Chongqing had no interest in these items and did not bid. When it came to the middle of the auction, items suitable for foundation establishment started to appear. During the process, Lu Chongqing bid for and won a water-type turtle demon core. After exchanging insights on beast taming with Hong Lian, he learned that for creatures like the Nine Netherhound, Six-Winged Golden Silkworm, and Cold Blue Dark Turtle, it was beneficial for their growth to consume certain demon cores, though these had to be of the same attribute. If the species of the demon beast matched, the effect would be even better. This water-type turtle demon core could help the Cold Blue Dark Turtle, so he decided to purchase it. The auction continued, and as the latter half arrived, rare items of the foundation establishment started to surface, even third-rank heaven and earth treasures. Spiritual Origin Pearl. Starting bid, 20,000 spirit stones. This pearl is a product of natural creation. Although it is ungraded as an eye of spirit, carrying it or placing it in a dwelling will enrich the spiritual energy, and if combined with a formation, it can even be used to upgrade a spirit vein. Each bid increase must not be less than 1,000 spirit stones. Sir the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was at this moment that an auction item emerged, sparking a surge of excitement. Spiritual Origin Pearl. Lu Changsheng's face showed surprise and delight. After obtaining a previous Spiritual Origin Pearl, Ling Zixiao made a judgment. He indicated that with just one Spiritual Origin Pearl or through cultivating with a large number of spirit stones, the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak could potentially be elevated to a high-grade second rank. He had been wondering how to get a Spiritual Origin Pearl, and although he came to the auction hoping for some luck, he did not expect to actually find one. 25,000 spirit stones, 30,000 spirit stones, 32,000 spirit stones. The Eye of Spirit, like the Spiritual Origin Pearl, was in demand by both individuals and forces, and it was immediately competed for by many. 40,000 spirit stones. Lu Chongqing called out his bid. In the midst of the competition, he ultimately spent 43,000 spirit stones to acquire the Spiritual Origin Pearl. The price was a bit steep, but for Lu Chongqing it was within an acceptable range. Fortunately, he had dealt with the magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts obtained from the robber cultivators in the Red Leaf Valley market during his recent market strolls. Otherwise, he would not have had enough spirit stones on hand right now and would have had to resort to selling talisman materials. In the following auctions, several flagship items were presented: third-rank spiritual wood, core formation spiritual objects, and lower-grade magical treasures. But since the prices were too high and he had just spent a significant amount on the Spiritual Origin Pearl, Lu Chongqing decided to forego further competition. After all, a foundation establishment cultivator with too much wealth would attract unwanted attention. Moreover, he really didn't have many spirit stones left. As the auction came to an end, Lu Chongqing left the venue feeling satisfied. Though he had only purchased 2 items this time, the acquisition of the Spiritual Origin Pearl made the trip worthwhile in his eyes. 7 days later, Lu Chongqing and Xiaoxia returned to Bai Lake Mountain, preparing for their daughter Lu Wangshu to awaken her blood talisman spiritual body. As for Lu Muping, there had been no movement in his dwelling up to now. This situation was quite normal. All cultivators attempting foundation establishment had to ferment, adjust their state. Someone like Lu Miaoge, who had heavenly foundation establishment, was an extreme rarity. Search the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 763. A Trip to Qingyun Market. Fairy of the Zither. Even Lu Chongqing and Xiaoxia had spent over a month adjusting their essence, qi, and spirits to perfection. Just over a month had passed, and it was very likely that Lu Muping was still adjusting his state and had not started foundation establishment. Therefore, Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xie could not possibly waste time here waiting for him. Considering he had purchased an item worth 50,000 spirit stones at the auction, Lu Changsheng was exceedingly cautious on his journey home. Fortunately, he encountered no dangers and safely returned to Bai Lake Mountain a half-month later. Mother! Lu Wangshu was overjoyed to see her mother Xiao Xie return. In the 2.5 years, although Xiao Xie had visited her once, she had only stayed with her for 3 days before leaving, which made her miss her mother terribly. Wangshu! Xiao Xie immediately went forward to hug her daughter tightly. The mother and daughter then reunited, Lu Wangshu's face full of joy, chattering away about her daily delights. Lu Changxing accompanied his wife and daughter in their conversation. But seeing his daughter heading off to fish again, he shook his head and went away, handing over the spiritual origin pearl he won at the auction to Ling Zixiao. Ia the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Another spiritual origin pearl? Ling Zixiao, seeing the pearl, showed surprise and delight in her beautiful eyes. It was well known that spiritual origin pearls were rare treasures. Lu Changxing had just acquired one a few months earlier, and now there was another. With this pearl, the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak could immediately upgrade to upper second rank. Not only would the spiritual energy increase, but it would also aid in her ongoing arrangement of the Divine Wood Great Formation. I was lucky this time. There happened to be a spiritual origin pearl at the Qingyun market auction, so I bid for it. Lu Changxing said with a smile. I will go now to integrate this pearl into the spirit vein. With this pearl, it will take at most 3 months for the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak to ascend to upper second rank. Ling Zixiao's eyes shone with joy. She had invested a lot in Bai Lake Mountain, treating it like her home, and witnessing its incremental progress and improvements also filled her with a sense of achievement. Good. Lu Changxing chuckled merrily. It was rare for him to see Ling Zixiao exhibit such emotions. Changsheng, you mentioned something about Wangshu the other day. What was it? The next day, Xiao Xie asked Lu Changxing about the great news concerning their daughter. He. Do you remember me asking you about the blood talisman spiritual body? Lu Changxing said with a chuckle. Of course I remember. Xiao Xie nodded. No sooner had she spoken than her eyes revealed hints of astonishment, amazement, and joy. She quickly turned to Lu Changsheng and asked, Changsheng, are you saying that Wangshu is… That's right. If nothing goes wrong, Wangshu is indeed a blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing held Xiao Xie's hand tenderly as he spoke. A blood talisman spiritual body? Wangshu actually has a spiritual body. Hearing the news, Xiao Xie's eyes gleamed with excitement and joy. Although the blood talisman spiritual body didn't offer any assistance with cultivation, it was still considered a superior variety, and one naturally attuned to the talisman path. With such a body, her future prospects on the path of talismans were incredibly promising. As long as she lived, she could at least become a third-rank talisman master. Moreover, with Lu Changxing as her top-level talisman master father, her potential in talismans was boundless. Changsheng, why didn't you say earlier that Wangshu is a blood talisman spiritual body? Then I could have collected all the necessary spiritual blood materials she needs while at the sect or marketplace. Xiao Xie knew that the blood talisman spiritual body was a recessive trait, requiring the blood refinement method, consuming spiritual blood to stimulate the spiritual body for activation. Such matters, of course, I've already prepared for. I called you here so you could awaken Wangshu's blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing said, grinning. He thought to himself that concern leads to chaos. Otherwise, with Xiao Xie's intelligence, how could she not have guessed that he was already prepared? He took out various types of spiritual blood he had collected over the years from his storage bag. These types of blood were not only gentle in nature, preventing harm to the body, but even soaking in them would benefit the physical body, tendons, and meridians. I didn't expect that you would be so thoroughly prepared, Changxing. When Xiao Xie heard Lu Changxing's introduction to the various types of spiritual blood, and saw how well prepared he was, A happy expression crossed her face. She then teased somewhat reproachfully, "It seems you've known about Wuxia's spiritual body for some time." Changsheng, realizing that she, as a mother, had been kept in the dark about her daughter's spiritual body. The normally aloof and proud fairy Shiyu showed a rare bit of petulance, akin to that of a young girl. "Hee. I also couldn't confirm it myself until recently when I talked with Hong Lian." Lu Changxing immediately claimed he hadn't known before. Mentioning Hong Lian gave Lu Changxing pause. He couldn't help but want to inquire if Hong Lian knew anything about the blood talisman spiritual body. Xiao Xie had mentioned there were 2 ways to awaken it, but she was unclear about the first method, the blood sacrifice ritual, as it wasn't recorded in the Qingyun sect's annals. Thus, at that moment, he wished to ask Hong Lian about the first method of awakening, whether the 2 methods of awakening had any differences or not. Thereupon, Lu Changsheng went to the summit of Baiyun Peak to inquire whether Hong Lian knew about the blood talisman spiritual body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 764. Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Goo. _1-inch blood talisman spiritual body? Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, Hong Lian guessed that he was inquiring for his daughter, Lu Wangshu. In the 2 years she spent at Bai Lake Mountain teaching the Lu family disciples cultivation, she had also made some casual observations. Among Lu Changsheng's children, aside from Lu Wangshu, none showed any remarkable talent. If anything was to be said, it was that the likelihood of a spiritual root in his offspring was relatively higher than the average level. However, she distinctly noticed that as the children aged, not only did their spiritual roots become increasingly better, but the probability of possessing them grew higher as well. This surprised her, seeing the effect of the Dragon Emperor body. Even with Lu Changxing at the Foundation Establishment cultivation level, the Dragon Emperor body already showed such effects. What if he were to break through to the core formation stage, nascent soul stage, or even the divinity transformation stage? The offspring he would then have would all be incredibly gifted and uniquely talented. Young master, aside from the 2 methods you mentioned for awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, there is a 3rd way to awaken it, to my knowledge. That is through unceasingly advancing on the talisman path and unleashing potential, thereby awakening the spiritual body. As for the first method involving a sacrificial ritual, I have heard that it involves a cultivator performing a blood sacrifice, but the specific details of the blood sacrifice ritual are unclear to me. It's probably similar to the second method that involves the blood refinement method with demon beast blood. Hong Lian spoke in a gentle, pleasant voice, slowly revealing the details of the blood talisman spiritual body. Using cultivators for a blood sacrifice? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow, thinking it was no wonder that there were no records in the ancient texts of Qingyun sect. As a righteous immortal sect, such things, even if known, would not be disseminated. He continued to inquire, "Are there any differences among these 3 methods?" "There is some difference in the degree of awakening of the spiritual body in the early stage, but overall, there won't be much discrepancy." Hong Lian opened her mouth and quietly said, "Young master, if you want to maximize the spiritual body awakening effects, you can add some true spirit blood during the awakening through the blood refinement method." True spirit blood? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately thought of his own Mount Sumeru Tree King. He asked, "Could this true spirit blood be too overbearing? Wangshu is a blood talisman spiritual body, and I am preparing to awaken her spiritual body. But she has yet to commence cultivation. If the spiritual blood is too potent, it might harm her body. Young master, I know of a medicinal bath technique that can dilute true spirit blood and use it to prepare a medicinal bath. This will not only maximize the awakening of Miss Blood Talisman's spiritual body, but also purify her flesh and solidify her foundation. At that time, Miss Wangshu can immediately commence cultivation, and before reaching the foundation establishment, her progress will be incredibly fast. Dressed in gorgeous palace clothes, with a delicate and perfect complexion, Hong Lian always maintained a faint smile on her face as she spoke. She appeared sacred and noble and exuded an ethereal and hazy beauty. Good. List the spiritual materials needed for this medicinal bath. Lu Chongqing immediately replied upon hearing this. Young master, this medicinal bath technique is not immutable. It still needs to be formulated based on the condition of the spiritual blood, and I also have some understanding in the area of medical treatments. Hong Lian said this, indicating her need to first confirm the conditions of several types of spiritual blood. Because aside from the Mount Sumerus true spirit blood, she indicated that the bloodlines of the Nine Netherhound and the Cold Blue Dark Turtle were also extraordinary and could be included. Good. Lu Chongqing nodded his head, asking for the approximate amount of spiritual blood needed. After confirming that it would not cause harm to his pet beasts, he went to request a portion of spiritual blood from the Mount Sumeru Tree King. The true spirit blood of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, although called blood, is actually an origin source liquid. It resembles liquid amber and shimmers with a golden luster, exuding a rich vitality and a sacred aura. Subsequently, he asked Hong Lian to draw some essence blood from the Nine Netherhound and the Cold Blue Dark Turtle, which left both pet beasts somewhat wilted and weak, needing several months to recuperate. 10 days later, inside the alchemy room, the earth vein fire burned vigorously. Sar the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, above the fire was not a pill furnace. Instead, it was a bronze cauldron. At this moment, inside the cauldron, the crystal-clear spiritual liquid roiled as Su Ruyan placed pricey herbs, spirit fruits, monster cores, and even demon beast bones into it. As time passed, the clear spiritual liquid inside the cauldron gradually turned dark and viscous. Su Ruyan lifted her palm lightly, and gourds from the table beside her rose into the air, their contents of spiritual blood pouring into the cauldron. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. With the addition of green, crimson, and azure liquids into the cauldron, the dark water boiled more fiercely, emanating an unpleasant smell. Daddy? Lu Wangshu, originally excited to hear she possessed a legendary spiritual body and that a simple medicinal bath could awaken it, had hurried over in high spirits. But now, looking at the boiling bronze cauldron, her face tensed up, her lips pursed, displaying a hint of fear. It's okay. Don't be afraid, Lu Chongqing said as he stroked her head. Mommy? Lu Wangshu then turned to look pitifully at her mother, Xiao Xia, no longer wanting to proceed with the medicinal bath. It's fine. Once the medicinal bath is finished, little Wangshu can begin to cultivate. Xiao Xia squatted down, speaking gently. She was well aware that Lu Chongqing had prepared this medicinal bath for his daughter to awaken the blood talisman spiritual body, spending tens of thousands of spirit stones and even purchasing a second-rank medicinal cauldron specially for it. The inclusion of true spirit blood, particularly, was beyond valuation. Su Ruyan poured the last bottle of golden liquid into the medicinal cauldron. Following that, just like in alchemy, she gestured towards the bronze cauldron, emitting a series of spells. The cauldron hummed and vibrated, the liquid inside boiling and foaming, with splashes of iridescent clarity. The originally murky liquid slowly turned to a pale gold, filling the air with a rich fragrance. Young master, the precious medicine has been brewed. It is ready for use. At this moment, Su Ruyan looked towards Lu Chongqing and spoke. Daddy, I'm going to be boiled alive, Lu Wangshu said with a frightened face. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 765. Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Goo. Hong Lian, are you sure there won't be any problems? Lu Chongqing looked at the bubbling medicinal bath with concern and asked for confirmation. Young master, please rest assured. This medicinal bath technique refines all the essence into a precious medicine. During the baptism, other than some pain, there will be no harm. The Hong Lian inhabiting Su Ruyan's body spoke up. Due to her weak spiritual soul, she was unable to leave the ancient beast taming charm for long periods of time or do too much through her spiritual body. Therefore, for daily tasks such as alchemy, artifact refining, and setting up arrays, she would do them through Su Ruyan's body. It was also for this reason that Lu Chongqing had not allowed Su Ruyin to conceive. Good. Lu Chongqing nodded upon hearing this. Then, looking at Lu Wangshu, who was timidly clinging to her mother, Xiao Xie, he spoke in a gentle voice. Wangshu, it's okay. It will be over soon. Daddy, I'm going to be boiled. Lu Wangshu said, her face filled with fear. Good girl, Wangshu. Xiao Xie knew they couldn't delay any longer, as it would affect the efficacy of the bath. She gritted her teeth slightly, then raised her hand, and her daughter was lifted into the air, followed by a plop as she entered the cauldron. Daddy, Mommy? It's so hot. I don't want to be boiled. Lu Wangshu immediately cried out in alarm, her face showing a look of pain. Wangshu, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. After the bath, Daddy will teach you cultivation, and after your bath, you will grow up quickly and be able to hold turtles. Lu Chongqing, seeing this scene, felt sorry for his daughter and worried she might not be able to bear it, so he spoke comfortingly. Shoo! Su Ruyin then cast one spell after another toward the bronze cauldron, landing on Lu Wangshu. The medicinal liquid boiled and bubbled, radiating a brilliant light and permeating a fragrant scent. Even the roar of demon beasts could be heard. Daddy, Mommy? Under the baptism, Lu Wangshu's body turned red. Her skin was suffused with a brilliant light, and a divine radiance flowed. However, the look of pain on her small face was genuine. She had been pampered by Lu Chongqing from a young age and had never been hit or hurt before. Now she was experiencing this kind of pain. It's okay. Don't be afraid, just endure it a little while longer, and later Daddy and Mommy will take you fishing and make you candy pills. Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie could tell that the medicinal bath was indeed not causing harm to Lu Wangshu. The wisps of essence in the medicinal bath continuously cleansed and refined her blood, meridians, bones, and dantian, making them more resilient and harmonious with nature's spiritual energy. Daddy, you have to keep your promise? Lu Wangshu also understood that she couldn't escape today's medicinal bath no matter what and had to endure boiling this once. With reddened eyes and a pitiful look, she said, When has Daddy ever lied to you? Lu Chongqing replied with a pained expression, speaking tenderly. Sar the Nafire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lu Wangshu, with a pained and aggrieved face, stayed in the bronze cauldron, biting down on her teeth, no longer crying out in pain. She knew her parents were doing it for her own good, and she had to awaken her spiritual body through this method. As time passed little by little, the essence of the medicinal bath continued to baptize Lu Wangshu, making her tender skin turn a deep red as if about to bleed, with continuous impurities being expelled. Suddenly, a mysterious aura spread from within Lu Wangshu. Blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Chongqing and Xiao Xie both sensed this aura and exchanged a glance, their faces showing delight. They knew that Lu Wangshu's blood talisman spiritual body had begun to awaken. However, at this moment, Lu Wangshu was somewhat muddled under the medicinal bath ritual. She felt an inexplicable sensation all over, as if she were floating, and her whole body was comfortable. Groggily, she opened her eyes and saw her mother and father still beside her, watching her with concern. She instantly felt reassured and fell asleep right in the medicinal cauldron. This scene brought smiles to Lu Chongqing and the others. The medicinal bath continued for a day and a night, leaving only a quarter of the original amount. My lord, it's done. At this time, Hong Lian cast a spell and spoke to Lu Chongqing. Hong Lian, you have worked hard this time. Lu Chongqing exhaled deeply and said. All day it had been Hong Lian who was busy. He and Xiao Xie had just been watching. He could now clearly see that his daughter, Lu Wangshu, was crystal clear and radiant, with a rich spiritual energy flowing through her meridians and dantian. As soon as she began cultivation, she could complete the process of drawing spiritual energy into her body without the need to cultivate slowly. My lord is too kind, Hong Lian said with a light laugh. Well, take Wangshu to rest, and you should rest too, Lu Chongqing said. He knew that the day had taken a lot out of Hong Lian. He then gestured for Xiao Xie to lift Lu Wangshu out of the cauldron to have a good night's rest. Mother! Lu Wangshu, lifted by her mother, half awake, mumbled softly and cuddled into Xiao Xia's arms before falling back to sleep. She had undergone the medicinal bath ritual and awakened her blood talisman spiritual body, exhausting a great deal, and needed sleep to recover and complete her transformation. All right. Hong Lian nodded in reply, and then looked at the remaining liquid in the cauldron, saying, My lord, not all of the medicinal power in the cauldron has been absorbed. Later on, you can add more medicinal fluid and continue to use it to refine the flesh and bones of the young masters and ladies in the house. Refining the flesh? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly, and he asked, Hong Lian, can anyone be baptized in this medicinal bath? Of course. Hong Lian spoke up. This medicinal bath technique is something I acquired from a barbarian witch tribe. After detecting the spiritual root in their children, they all undergo a medicinal bath ritual to refine their flesh and bones. This method is actually akin to the effect of the solid foundation elixir that my lord administers to the young masters and ladies in the house. It's just that, comparatively, this method is more crude and direct. If my lord wishes to perform a medicinal bath ritual for all the young masters and ladies in the house, it is certainly possible, but this is best done between the ages of 6 and 10. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 766. Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Goo. If they're too old, it's difficult to absorb the effectiveness of the medicine, easy to waste, and the effects are not significant, Hong Lian said in a gentle and graceful voice. All right, we can consider that later. As for now, this kind of medicinal bath is still somewhat expensive. Lu Chongqing nodded in agreement. Although he wanted to provide such a treatment for all his children, the preparation of this medicinal bath for Lu Wangshu alone, not to mention the use of his 3 pet beasts' spiritual blood, cost him nearly 20,000 spirit stones just for the purchase of other various spiritual blood, spiritual medicines, monster cores, and demon beast materials. If he were to do this for all the children in the family, even if he were wealthy, he couldn't afford such an expense. Moreover, the blood supply from the family's 3 pet beasts wouldn't keep up. Young master, this time it was for the awakening of the blood talisman spiritual body, which involved the use of true spirit blood, thus maximizing the effects of the bath and resulting in higher costs. It's also possible to create a medicinal bath using the blood, bones, and monster cores of first and second rank demon beasts. However, such potency can be much more overbearing and the process extremely painful. If one cannot endure it, there's a risk of injury. In some small barbarian tribes, where conditions are poor, they use this method to lay the foundation for their youngsters, Hong Lian added. She indicated that the medicinal bath for Lu Wangshu was of a high standard, and for the initiation of ordinary youngsters, it wouldn't need to be so lavish, costing less than a tenth. Good. Lu Chongqing nodded his head. He planned to consider adding a medicinal bath ritual to the family's regimen when conditions improved. System. As he walked out of the alchemy room with Xiao Xia, Lu Chongqing inwardly called out. He wanted to see what changes had occurred to his daughter's talents after awakening the blood talisman spiritual body. Immediately, a system panel appeared. Name, Lu Wangshu. Lifespan, October 93. Talent, 4th grade spiritual root. Blood talisman spiritual body, superior spiritual body. Cultivation level, none. Talent, talisman path compatibility, 89%. 89%. Lu Chongqing, upon seeing the talent displayed on his daughter's panel, paused for a moment, his eyes revealing surprise and delight. He hadn't expected that upon awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, his daughter's talent would soar so dramatically. The person with the highest talent in his family currently was Ling Zixiao. Her formation path talent was 81%. Yet his daughter, Lu Wangshu, having just begun to be introduced to the talisman path and having awakened the blood talisman spiritual body, now had a compatibility of 89%. Under his tutelage in the future, through the blood talisman spiritual patterns within her body, her talent might easily surpass 90% and could potentially reach 100%. The blood talisman spiritual body is naturally attuned to the talisman path. Lu Chongqing exhaled softly, murmuring to himself. Although he too had awakened the blood talisman spiritual body and was aware of its effects, due to his second-grade talisman master legacy and the 99 mystical talisman scripture from the system, he had no need for this spiritual body. Besides using it initially to get familiar with the patterns from the 99 mystical talisman scripture and to draw third-rank spirit talismans, which felt much easier in other areas such as comprehension of the talisman path, he really didn't feel any advantage. The two arrived at the Lu family mansion. Xiao Xie gently laid her daughter on the bed and softly asked, "Chongqing, now that Wang Shu can start cultivating, have you considered which cultivation technique she should practice? Later, I can go back to Qingyun sect and see if there are any cultivation techniques related to the talisman path, which would be beneficial for Wang Shu in the future." She knew that her daughter, having the blood talisman spiritual body, would benefit greatly from practicing talisman path techniques, but talisman path techniques were extremely rare, and there was no known inheritance of such techniques in the Jiang country cultivation realm. Don't worry about that. When I obtained the art of talisman formations, I also received a cultivation technique for the talisman path. Lu Chongqing, sitting by the bed, pulled his lovely wife into his embrace and said warmly, "Good." Upon hearing this, Xiao Xie's beautiful eyes shone like crescents as she smiled softly. In that case, Wang Shu won't need to join an immortal sect and can cultivate at home. She might not know about Hong Lian's situation, but through Lu Changsheng's various actions over the years, she knew that under these circumstances, her daughter did not need to join an immortal sect. Initially, she did have the idea of having her daughter join an immortal sect. But as Lu Changsheng's extraordinary talents gradually emerged, her thoughts on the matter slowly faded. "Shiyu, don't worry, with me here, Wang Shu's future will certainly not be bleak." Lu Changsheng's voice was full of confidence. Looking at his daughter on the bed, smacking her lips as if she were dreaming about eating something, Lu Chongqing chuckled and pinched her tender cheeks. Who knows, maybe in the future our little Wang Shu could become the foremost talisman cultivator in Jiang country. Although these words were somewhat in jest, he believed that under his guidance, his daughter could indeed achieve such a feat in the future. The foremost talisman cultivator in Jiang country. Xiao Xie just hoped her daughter could be happy and did not have too many ambitious thoughts. But when she heard the foremost talisman cultivator, a smile of longing also appeared in her beautiful eyes. After all, as parents, who wouldn't hope for their daughter to achieve something in the future? Search * the Nell Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Thus, the two of them spoke about their daughter's future. At this moment, Lu Chongqing also couldn't help but miss his children who were away from home. His son Lu Qingshan and daughter Lu Qingzhu of the Jinyang sect in Yu country, and his daughter, Nangong Yaoyao in Jin Kingdom. He was slightly more at ease with Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. After all, Jinyang sect of Yu country was a righteous cultivation sect. His son Lu Qingshan had broken through to the 6th level of energy refinement last year, and his daughter Lu Qingzhu had also advanced to the 5th level not long ago. But the situation of Nangong Yaoyao he couldn't help but worry. After all, the 5 Poisons cult of Jin Kingdom belonged to the demon path. His daughter had been raised in a demon path sect since she was young, with her mother Nangong merely being a notable figure in the demon path. Although this situation didn't necessarily mean she was at a disadvantage, it felt like she could easily be led astray. This child will soon be 5 years old. Lu Chongqing thought that he had never even met this child, fearing he wouldn't know how to face her when he went to Jin Kingdom in the future. At this moment, he was filled with profound anxiety. Meanwhile, in Jin Kingdom, the 5 Poisons cult, a gloomy and dark prison cell. Under the heavenly goo with the golden silkworm as king, it seems your luck is not small, actually managing to refine a golden silkworm goo. Nangong Meili, dressed in a majestic purple silk gown with an enchanting and bewitching face, looked at the man in front of her and spoke softly, as a gold-hued, silkworm-like creature rested on her slender jade-like fingers. "Heaven Spider Emissary, please spare my life. Heaven Spider Emissary, please spare my life. I am willing to offer up the golden silkworm goo and only ask for your eminence's mercy." The man was burly, with a fierce face and bloodshot eyes. His limbs, his collarbones, and his pelvis, all the vital points, were pierced by chains, suppressing his mana. As he looked at the extraordinarily glamorous Nan Gong Mealy in front of him, he kept pleading for mercy, fear evident in his eyes. As a disciple of the Five Poisons cult, he was very clear that this Heaven Spider emissary was a true femme fatale. Falling into her hands meant there was no good ending. Sparing your life, naturally, I can. However, since you have managed to refine the golden silkworm goo, you should know that to subdue it, one must use the fresh blood of its master for nurturing and feeding. Nan Gong Mealy smiled charmingly, her voice flirtatious, but her beautiful eyes only held cold and ruthless light. No, Heaven Spider emissary, I beg you, please spare me. The burly man showed a look of terror, trembling all over, and he quickly begged aloud. Having managed to refine the golden silkworm goo, he certainly understood the domineering nature of the goo. It was difficult for others to refine it. The only way was to suppress the will of the golden silkworm goo with another heavenly goo and slowly subdue it. But there was another demonic method, which was to pour and feed the blood of its current master to slowly refine it. Nan Gong Mealy, by saying this, was obviously intending to use the second method to make him a blood slave, thereby refining the golden silkworm goo. Watching Nan Gong Mealy turn and step out of the prison, he howled ferociously, "Ah, Nan Gong Mealy, you harlot, you will not die well. I refined the golden silkworm goo and was certain to rise among the ranks in the sect's grand competition. If you kill me, once the sect hierarch knows, he will certainly not let you off lightly." The burly man roared loudly, his body struggling against the chains, making them rattle loudly. He thought that after obtaining such a fortuitous chance to refine the golden silkworm goo, he was on the cusp of soaring high. But unexpectedly, because of the crime of killing a fellow sect member, he was taken down by Nan Gong Mealy and was now destined to become a blood slave. Nan Gong Mealy, facing these curses, turned a deaf ear and let out a soul-stirring light chuckle. Looking at the golden silkworm goo on her fingertip, her eyes revealed a hint of indulgence and joy. With this golden silkworm goo, Yao Yao's destined goo will have a place to belong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 767. Fate-defying robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation, _1 by Lake Mountain. Lu family mansion, in a rear courtyard. Lu Wangshu held the cold blue dark turtle above her head, running around the courtyard with a face full of cheer. Although her body had been decent before, it was still within the range of an ordinary person. But after the medicinal bath ritual, her physical constitution had improved significantly, almost a complete transformation, comparable to a martial artist, a body cultivator. Wang Shu, be careful. By her side, Xiao Xie watched her daughter with worry, fearful that the girl might trip or hurt herself. All right, Wang Shu. Come here. Daddy will teach you cultivation. Lu Chongsheng, watching his spirited and overly excited daughter, called out helplessly. His daughter was usually quite serene, but now, running around with a cold blue dark turtle weighing hundreds of pounds, he felt a strong sense of dissonance. It was a relief that after the medicinal bath, only her height had increased a bit. If she had transformed like Neza, Lu Chongxing felt he would not bear to look. However, he knew this was merely the strong effect of the medicinal bath. The girl had slept 3 days and nights and still hadn't fully assimilated the medicine's power, her whole being brimming with energy. MHM. Lu Wangshu set down her pet and then skipped merrily over to Lu Changsheng's side. Although she had been nearly cooked to death a few days ago, which made her quite aggrieved, her current spirited and strong state made her feel unprecedentedly well, pushing the memory of almost being boiled behind her. Daddy, what's the name of the cultivation method I'll practice? How do I cultivate it? Lu Wangxing asked with clear, expectant, and curious eyes. In class at the academy, Shed learned quite a bit about cultivation. She knew that in cultivation, one needed to choose a cultivation technique suitable for oneself, and after reaching the third level of chi refinement, one could fly on a sword and command water, fire, lightning, and thunder. By then, she could go fishing on her own, without needing to call for daddy or mommy or for the company of a brother or sister. Your spiritual body is of the talisman path, so the technique daddy is going to teach you is called 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. Lu Chongqing had his daughter sit next to him and gestured for Xiao Xie to listen in. He then started to describe the technique. After practicing this technique, you can condense your life-bound divine talisman, and in battle you have methods such as void drawing of talismans, talisman refinement formation, and sacrificial of talisman soldiers. Daddy, does void drawing of talismans mean you can draw talismans without using talisman paper? Lu Wangshu, under Lu Changsheng's everyday teachings, had already become familiar with talisman making. Exactly, all kinds of talismans and techniques can be deployed through the method of void drawing of talismans. Ordinary talismans require a lot of time to draw, but after practicing this technique, you'll be able to draw a large quantity of talismans in a very short amount of time, Lu Chongqing said softly. Daddy, why not prepare talismans in advance? That way, wouldn't you not need to draw them when the time comes? Lu Wangshu asked such a question. Lu Chongqing. He suddenly felt that by placating his daughter with talismans to play with in ordinary days, he had led to her lacking awareness of the value of spirit talismans. Because normally drawing talismans not only takes a lot of time but also requires money to buy talisman paper and spirit ink. Sir, the novel F.I.R. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you can perform void drawing of talismans, you can save the money for those materials, which you can then use to buy tasty treats and fun toys. Moreover, the higher the level of the talisman, the rarer the materials needed. Void drawing of talismans doesn't have this problem, Lu Chongqing explained patiently to his daughter. Oh, I see. Daddy, what are talisman refinement formation and sacrificial of talisman soldiers? Lu Wangshu nodded thoughtfully and continued to inquire. Normally, we use 2 or 3 talismans at a time, right? But with talisman refinement formation, you can use hundreds or thousands of talismans together at once, forming a formation that multiplies their power, Lu Chongqing explained, taking out a golden armor spirit bean. As soon as the spirit bean flew out, it transformed into a large figure, a warrior clad in golden armor. As for talisman soldiers, they are spirit talismans refined into soldiers like this golden armor warrior that Daddy has, which can help with work and do many things. You like big puppet toys, right? Talisman soldiers can be made to look like big puppet toys, Lu Chongqing said with a smile, pointing at the golden armor warrior. Help with work, big puppet toys. Lu Wangshu heard this, and looking at the 2-meter-tall golden armor warrior in front of her, her little face immediately showed a look of surprise and excitement. Although she had some interest in Talisman Path, under Lu Changsheng's guidance, she was even more passionate about fishing, alchemy, and puppets. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words now and thinking that she could take talisman soldiers fishing, she grew interested in this technique. That's right, this technique is very powerful. Come, let Daddy teach you now. Lu Chongqing coaxed his daughter and began to explain the first level of the technique slowly. Xiao Xie rested her jade arm on her cheek, her beautiful eyes full of smiles as she watched the father and daughter in front of her. She couldn't help thinking back to the time when her master Yun Wanshang taught her how to cultivate. But her master had not been as detailed in her teachings as Lu Chongqing was now. Moreover, her master was very imposing and strict back then, not as gentle in demeanor and tone as Lu Chongqing, who seemed to be cajoling a child. An hour later, Lu Wangshu crisply said, Daddy, I've memorized it all. Oh, memorized it all. Have you? Then give it a try. Daddy will watch you, Lu Chongqing said with a smiling chuckle, taking out a cushion for his daughter. He was curious to see how long it would take for his daughter to get into the state and complete the process of drawing qi into her body. Just like when Lu Pingon practiced the 100 Refinements treasure body art, it had taken him 4 days to grasp the essentials. Lu Wangshu, hugging the cushion, sat down to the side in the lotus position. Then, with pursed lips and a serious face, she said, Daddy, I'm going to begin. All right, Lu Chongqing said with a full smile. The next moment, Lu Changsheng's smiling face stiffened slightly, and his eyes showed a look of surprise and doubt. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 768. The Fate-Defying Robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation. Not only him, but Xiao Xia's eyes also revealed surprise, doubt, and delight, because they saw that as soon as their daughter Lu Wangshu closed her eyes, she entered the state. Threads and strands of nature's spiritual energy were being drawn to her, slowly entering Lu Wangshu's body. This, Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xia looked at each other, both seeing overwhelming joy in the other's eyes. The speed of a cultivator's cultivation, besides the primary factor of the spiritual root, depended also on comprehension. If one had high comprehension, many cultivation techniques could be quickly learned and mastered, hastening the pace of cultivation considerably. SAR the novel F. Iyer. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Just like how Lu Changsheng, relying on the cultivation techniques inherited from the system, faced fewer obstacles on his cultivation path. Seeing their daughter immediately enter the state and comprehend the cultivation technique, they were naturally overjoyed. Is this because of the blood talisman spiritual body or because Wangshu herself has excellent comprehension? It should be both. Wangshu has always been quick to grasp alchemy, talisman making, fishing, and other such activities, understanding their meanings with just a brief explanation. Now that the cultivation technique she is practicing is of the talisman path, which coincides with her blood talisman spiritual body, she has instantly grasped its mysteries and entered the state. Lu Changsheng mused to himself, his eyes filled with joy. The real difficulty of the 99 mystical talisman scripture lay in its 99 spiritual patterns. Take Lu Miaoge. It had taken her 10 years to barely comprehend the first foundational spiritual pattern. Now, with Lu Wangshu's remarkable comprehension, understanding these spiritual patterns in the future should be much simpler. Changsheng, it seems Wangshu has inherited your comprehension. Xiao Xia conveyed to Lu Changsheng with a face full of joy, because Lu Changsheng was proficient in various cultivation techniques, as well as in talisman making, alchemy, and the art of talisman formations. She had always believed that Lu Changsheng had extraordinary comprehension and innate talent. Seeing her daughter's comprehension now, she believed it was inherited from Lu Changsheng. Hee. Lu Changsheng chuckled but said nothing. He had a clear idea about his own comprehension. In this manner, under their watchful eyes, after half a day had passed. Boom! A surge of qi energy dispersed from Lu Wangshu's body, causing her skirt to flutter and creating a layer of dust around her. Lu Wangshu opened her eyes and looked at her delicate palms. She felt a mysterious change had occurred, yet couldn't articulate what had changed. Then, she looked to her father and inquired, "Father, have I mastered it?" "Yes, you have. My Wangshu is really amazing. You have completed the first step of drawing qi into your body so quickly." Lu Changsheng felt the faint flow of qi in his body, stood up, approached his daughter, and with a smile, stroked her head. At that moment, he deeply understood what it meant to win at the starting line. His daughter only had a 4th-grade spiritual root. But with the solid foundation elixirs he had been feeding her since she was young, and the costly baths of true spirit blood and tens of thousands of spirit stones, her early speed was probably not inferior to those with higher-grade spiritual roots. Ehe. So this is drawing qi into the body? The little girl, upon receiving confirmation, immediately expressed her happiness. "Father, how long will it take for me to break through the 3rd-level energy refinement? My teacher said that once I reach the 3rd-level energy refinement, I can fly with the help of a magic artifact." As long as you diligently cultivate, it won't take long. When you break through the 3rd-level energy refinement, Father will give you a magic artifact, said Lu Changsheng with a chuckle. Gauging his daughter's current situation, he estimated that it would take about a year for her to break through the 3rd-level energy refinement. "Father, when can I start void drawing of talismans and the sacrificial of talisman soldiers?" Lu Wangshu continued to inquire. That's going to take some time. said Lu Chongqing, not wanting to dampen her enthusiasm. He added, well, as long as you cultivate well, whatever kind of large puppet toy you want, Father will give you one. As long as little Wang Shu diligently cultivates, you can also tell Mother whatever you desire, said Xiaoxia, who had approached and wrapped her arm around her daughter. Okay. Lu Wangshu's face lit up with happiness. It was rare to see both her father and mother so joyful. In her heart, she felt an added expectation from her parents about her cultivation. Half a month later, Xiaoxia left. Her visit this time was precisely because of issues concerning her daughter Lu Wangshu. Now that she had been away for over a month, she needed to return to her sect to report back. Although Lu Wangshu was reluctant to part with her mother, as she grew older, she also understood that her mother had many duties to attend to. On this day, with the sun shining brightly, Lu Chongqing accompanied his daughter Lu Wangshu to Bai Shui Lake for fishing. While the daughter had an extraordinary talent in the talisman path, she did not have a passion for talisman making and preferred fishing in her daily life. Lu Chongqing, however, was at a loss. A child at this age was bound to be playful, and making her focus solely on cultivation and studying was impossible. Therefore, he could only suggest a mix of work and leisure, spending an hour a day on cultivation and an hour on studying the talisman path. The rest of the time, apart from attending classes, he let her play as she liked. Just then, a system notification rang in Lu Changsheng's mind. Congratulations to the host. 50 of your offspring have broken through martial Dao innate, gaining bloodline effect, increased reproduction rate of offspring by 5%, and receiving one chance to draw a prize. 50, is it? Upon hearing the voice, Lu Chongqing showed a smile. Father, I've got a fish on the line. Seated on the cold blue dark turtle, Lu Wangshu suddenly exclaimed with surprise and excitement, lifting the fishing rod vertically. Thanks to the medicinal baths, her strength had leveled up, and she no longer required assistance when hooking a fish. Moreover, she had self-taught how to play a fish, and patiently guided the fish onto the hook. This scene made Lu Chongqing shake his head. With her talents and comprehension, why didn't she apply them more to worthy pursuits? After enduring what felt like an eternity fishing with his daughter for an hour, Lu Chongqing told her to go back and cultivate properly, while he returned to Chongqing Hall. Search the novel Fire Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 769. The Fate-Defying Robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation. System, draw a prize. Lu Chongqing took a deep breath and silently chanted in his heart. HS fishing luck had been so poor, it was about time for some good fortune in the drawing, right? A faint red roulette appeared, and the golden light began to spin. After a few breaths, the golden light settled on the magical treasure section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magical treasure. Fate-Defying Robe. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host may check it at any time. A mystic robe emerged from the great roulette, accompanied by a system notification tone. A magical treasure. The fate-defying robe? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows lifted when he saw the reward. Although he was indifferent to most magical treasures, he felt quite pleased with the robe. After all, even if a magical robe could not be activated, its defensive capabilities were far superior to those of a common spiritual instrument robe. Magic artifact, fate-defying robe, grade. High-grade magical treasure. Description. Crafted by the ancient Mount Sumeru Elder. This unique magical treasure can block divination and conceal one's form and chi. If fully activated, it can hide in the void and traverse for Martians below the 3rd rank. Unless one has the spiritual eye technique or divine skills, it is hard to detect. Not so much focused on defense, but blocking divination and concealing one's form and chi, and traversing formations? Lu Chongqing looked at the magical treasure in front of him with some astonishment. In the vast array of cultivation skills, there is a very niche and specialized skill known as divination. This art of divination can fathom the secrets of heaven, intuitively predict personal fortunes and misfortunes, or gain a rough idea of someone else's situation and information. However, this mystical art of divination is very esoteric, with an extremely high barrier of entry and can shorten one's lifespan. Lu Chongqing had never seen it but had only read about it in books. In the cultivation world, where such arts of divination exist naturally, there is also divine skills that shield one from heavenly secrets and treasures that isolate divination. The fate-defying robe is one such magical treasure. Though there's probably no one trying to divine my whereabouts for no reason, possessing this robe is good to have. Moreover, the robe also has effects that conceal one's form and qi. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself. He judged the fate-defying magical treasure to be fairly good and decided to keep it for his own use. With a slight intent, he retrieved the magical treasure from the system space. Instantly, a broadly tailored, simple, and refined mystic robe appeared in front of Lu Chongqing. Upon touching the robe, it felt silky smooth and as warm as jade, woven with an unknown material and inscribed with spiritual patterns and seals. Lu Chongqing began the process of refining the seals within the robe. Sar the novel F.I.R. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. While his mana might not be strong enough to activate the robe, investing more time would allow him to refine it and retain the basic effects of concealing his form and qi. 1 month later, Lu Chongqing refined the fate-defying robe. After putting on the robe, he flicked his finger and a mirror made of water emerged before him. The water mirror reflected his handsome and dapper figure. Looking at his reflection, Lu Chongqing felt as if his entire demeanor had changed. Originally, with his handsome features and green robe, he was like an orchid standing proudly, refreshing to behold. Now, dressed in a mystic robe, his figure became even more slender and upright, adding layers of depth and a stately, dignified air. With the fate-defying robe on, Lu Chongqing inexplicably felt a strong sense of security. The main effects of the robe might be to block divination, conceal qi, hide one's form, and traverse formations, but a magical treasure is still a magical treasure. Its defenses were quite remarkable, far surpassing that of a spiritual instrument. Lu Chongqing had tested it and found that at least his own flying sword and techniques couldn't breach the robe and cause damage. Although the robe's spiritual light is subdued and it can conceal my form and qi, someone might still notice something is off. Lu Chongqing thought and decided to wear his green robe over it. After checking to make sure there were no issues, he left the room. 1 month later. Buzz. That day, as Lu Chongqing was teaching his daughter the basics of spiritual patterns, he suddenly felt Bai Yun Peak tremble slightly. Could it be Bai Yun Peak's spirit vein has advanced to a second-rank upper grade? He frowned slightly, immediately thinking of the advancement of his family's spirit vein. Wang Shu, watch yourself for a moment. Daddy has something to take care of and will step out for a bit. Lu Chongqing said to his daughter, Lu Wangshu, as he prepared to investigate the matter. Yes, Daddy, go ahead. Lu Wangshu replied obediently. Lu Chongqing patted her little head, walked out of the courtyard, and headed to the top of Bai Yun Peak. My husband, Bai Yun Peak's spirit vein, has indeed advanced to a second-rank upper grade. Ling Zixiao greeted Lu Chongqing, guessing the reason for his presence, and said with a graceful smile, So it is the spirit vein's advancement. Upon confirmation, a surge of joy filled Lu Chongqing's heart. Although the spirit vein was already at a critical point and the spiritual energy at the spirit eye was comparable to a second-rank upper grade, now that the spirit vein had advanced from second-rank middle grade to upper grade, the concentration of spiritual energy throughout Bai Yun Peak could rise by 30%. Not only beneficial for Bai Yun Peak, but for the entire Bai Lake Mountain and even for the Mount Sumeru Tree King. He reached the spirit eye and could clearly feel that the spiritual energy was much more dense than before, with a continuous surging outpouring of spiritual energy. Over time, this spiritual energy would gradually affect the entire Bai Yun Peak. However, Lu Chongqing decided to let Mount Sumeru absorb some of this spiritual energy. Since Bai Yun Peak didn't need so much spiritual energy right now, it would be better to channel it towards Mount Sumeru's growth. My husband not only has the spirit vein advanced to a second-rank upper grade, but the divine wood great formation is also nearly complete, It's just missing the last step. At this moment, Ling Zixiao continued with a smile. Oh, the divine wood great formation is about to be completed? Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow, surprised. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 770. The Fate-Defying Robe, Mount Sumerus Grand Illusory Sky Formation, _ for the divine wood great formation had taken a long time to complete. From the moment Ling Zixiao started preparing to now, 3 years had passed. Though progress was slow due to physical reasons, the workload was indeed enormous. During these 3 years, Ling Zixiao mostly spent her time setting up this formation. Indeed, if my husband is at leisure, you may watch here. Ling Zixiao's beautiful eyes shone brightly as she spoke. The reason the divine wood great formation took so long was that, under Honglian's guidance, her mastery of the formation path improved a lot, and she optimized and adjusted many aspects of the great formation. It could be said that this divine wood great formation was the pinnacle of her achievements. Now that the great formation lacked only the final step, she naturally hoped that Lu Chongqing would watch her masterpiece and share her joy and happiness. I'd be more than happy. This was the first time Lu Chongqing saw such an expression in Ling Zixiao's eyes. He knew that she truly loved the path of formation from the bottom of her heart. Now that the great formation was about to be completed, she hoped to receive his recognition and praise. Good. Ling Zixiao nodded and began the final step of the great formation. Although it was the last step under Lu Changsheng's watch, Ling Zixiao still took a whole day and night to complete it. At this moment, her elegant face was full of exhaustion, but her eyes showed no signs of tiredness. In fact, they sparkled with vitality. My husband, the divine wood great formation has been successfully completed, ranking as an almost 3rd rank, and as long as the spirit vein of Bai Yun Peak advances 3 ranks, the great formation will also be promoted to 3rd rank. But even as it stands, an almost 3rd rank, no nascent soul immortal could break through, and would even risk getting trapped inside, unable to extract themselves. Ling Zixiao's face was full of joy as she explained the situation of the great formation to Lu Chongqing. The core of the entire great formation was the Mount Sumeru Tree King, possessing the divine skills of a Mount Sumeru cave heaven, capable of creating a Mount Sumeru illusory realm. The illusory realm was connected to the world of the Mount Sumeru Tree King's cave heaven, and could draw anyone from the illusory realm into the cave heaven to suppress them at will. What strength is required to break through this Mount Sumeru illusory realm? Lu Chongqing, looking at the Mount Sumeru Tree King flowing with gold, amidst the array flags beside the mountain peak, asked aloud. Below core formation, there's no chance of breaking through, only a nascent soul immortal can break the illusory realm. But with the presence of the Mount Sumeru predecessor, as long as the nascent soul immortal doesn't break the illusory realm in the first instance, they can be suppressed within the cave heaven. Ling Zixiao said so. She had seen the Mount Sumeru Tree King suppress Honglian. Xia the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She knew that even a nascent soul cultivator would be helpless within the Mount Sumeru cave heaven. In other words, unless faced with a nascent soul attack, a nascent soul immortal coming to Bai Lake Mountain was on a path to doom. Zixiao, open the great formation. I'll enter the formation to take a look. Lu Chongqing stroked his chin, curious in his heart, wanting to experience this so-called Mount Sumeru illusory realm. Just a moment, my husband. Ling Zixiao, dressed in a blue gown, graceful and dignified, softly spoke to Lu Chongqing. Then, with a wave of her hands forming gestures and manipulating the array plate, she cried out, "Open!" In an instant, a crystalline luster flowed around the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Shafts of divine radiance spilled out, giving the great formation that enveloped Bai Lake Mountain a hint of pale golden sheen. The blue and gold glows melded together, making the whole of Bai Lake Mountain seem semi-ethereal. Following that, Lu Chongqing saw a hazy mist of gray fog emerge, shrouding and enveloping him. This is the Mount Sumeru illusory realm? The very next moment, Lu Chongqing found himself no longer atop Bai Yun Peak. He appeared in a place where all sides were shrouded in a hazy and chaotic gray mist. Slash! Lu Chongqing slapped his storage bag, and the true Yang Five-Element sword appeared in his hand. Countless seven-colored spiritual lights burst forth, slashing towards the murky fog ahead. Puff, puff, puff. The seven luminaries' sword chi flashed wildly, fierce and domineering, causing the fog to churn tumultuously and continuously disperse. But behind the fog were layers upon layers of more mist. Lu Changsheng's brow furrowed slightly as he looked at the gray fog ahead and continued to unleash several sharp sword lights. But behind that, there seemed to be an endless amount of gray fog, which was impossible to break through. My lord, how goes it? At that moment, Ling Zixio's figure also appeared in this world. She stood with dignified grace, her face elegant, asking with a smile, Zixio, is this really an illusion? Lu Chongqing inquired. Although Ling Zixio had told him that this was an illusory realm derived from the power of Mount Sumeru, he felt as if he had teleported through a void, entirely in a different world. Yes, this Mount Sumeru illusory realm is half real, half false. All attacks are distributed over by Lake Mountain's azure water sky clearing Great Formation, and a portion is resolved by the senior Mount Sumeru. Given enough spiritual energy to sustain it, this realm can evolve all sorts of illusions. Ling Zixio, holding an array plate, spoke out loud. With her words, she manipulated the plate to give a simple demonstration. Before them, the hazy world began to change, transforming into a wasteland with forests and even figures appearing. However, it lasted only for a brief moment before Ling Zixio let the scenery dissipate, returning to a murky chaos. Because this ability currently primarily consumed Mount Sumeru's mana, it was very draining on it. Mount Sumeru. Lu Chongqing nodded, looking at the illusion before him, and called out into the void. Immediately, Mount Sumeru replied, and a golden gateway of light appeared before them. Lu Chongqing and Ling Zixio stepped through the light portal and entered within Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. This divine wood great formation is truly wondrous. With this great formation in place, even if many more try to enter by Lake Mountain, it is but moths to the flame, hurling themselves into a trap. Lu Chongqing looked at the familiar scenery, took a deep breath, and remarked with a sense of relief. He knew that the greatest effect of this divine wood great formation was its fearlessness against group assaults. If a large force were to attack by Lake Mountain, and hundreds of cultivators were to come, as long as he operated the divine wood great formation, he could trap all of them within the Mount Sumeru illusory realm. Then he could either slay or suppress them one by one into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. My lord, it is no longer appropriate to continue calling this formation the divine wood great formation. Why don't you give it a new name? Ling Zixio looked at Lu Chongqing and suggested with a smile. Since this great formation is set up by you, Zixio, it's only natural for you to name it, Lu Chongqing said with a casual smile. In that case, how about we call it the Mount Sumeru Fantasy Heaven Great Formation? Ling Zixio suggested after a moment of contemplation. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 771. 3 Generations, 3 Foundation Establishments, The Dark Demon Corpse. _1 Mount Sumeru Fantasy Sky Great Formation. What a great name. Lu Chongqing chuckled and said, who knows? Perhaps the name of this formation will be famous throughout the entire Jiang country cultivation realm one day. Looking at Ling Zixio in front of him, he suddenly thought of something and asked out loud, Zixio, now that your body has recovered quite a bit and you can start cultivating again in a few days, have you considered switching to another cultivation method? With several top-tier cultivation techniques available in our family now, I indeed have thoughts of switching to another one, Ling Zixio said with a light smile. Although the cultivation method she practiced was decent, it was only of the exquisite level. Now by Lake Mountain was not short of cultivation methods, as Honglian contributed 2 orthodox level cultivation techniques and 7 peripheral sect level cultivation techniques. Among them, there were two that she quite liked and was planning to switch to when the time came. Zixiao, which cultivation method are you planning to switch to? Lu Chongqing continued to ask. One is predecessor Hong Lian's sect-defining technique Vermilion Bird Sky-Scorching Art, and the other is the Thunder Fire 9 Arts, Ling Zixiao said softly. As a dragon roar physique, cultivating a cultivation method that was exceptionally young and extremely firm would bring double the results with half the effort. And the techniques from the Vermilion Bird Palace mostly revolved around fire, which were rather suitable for her. I also have a few techniques here, Zixiao. Do you want to take a look and see if you like any? Lu Chongqing pondered for a moment and said. He knew these two techniques, one was orthodox level, and the other was peripheral sect level, both top-tier techniques from the Vermilion Bird Palace. But as her Taoist companion, he naturally had to show his support at this time. Whether a technique was suitable for Ling Zixiao was one thing, but his own attitude needed to be there. After all, over the years, Ling Zixiao had made many contributions to his family, had nearly lost her life for them, and what he had done for her so far was quite limited. Thank you, my husband, Ling Zixiao said with a light smile, sitting down gracefully beside the table and pouring a cup of wine for Lu Chongqing. Ever since Lu Chongqing had acquired the skill of wine brewing, he would brew some wine that was beneficial to her body. So she also developed the habit of occasionally sipping a cup. The sword technique in cultivating is known as the Seven Luminaries Sword Scripture. If Zixiao is interested, I can teach you. Lu Chongqing picked up his cup and took a light sip as he spoke. I'm not interested in sword techniques. Ling Zixiao gently shook her head. She felt sword techniques were too sharp and overbearing, focused too much on killing, and did not suit her. Aside from sword techniques, I have another cultivation method called the 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. The talisman formation technique I passed on to you comes from the scripture. The main focus is, Lu Chongqing smiled and continued to introduce. Sarch * the novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The talisman formation technique you taught me, I have not yet fully grasped it, and it involves too much knowledge about the talisman path. I have limited energy and simply no time to practice it concurrently. Ling Zixiao continued to shake her head. She was very interested in this cultivation method, but she knew she didn't have the energy to also pursue the talisman path on the side. After all, not everyone could be as extraordinary as Lu Chongqing. I have a cultivation method called the Tai Shengshui Ju, but this method requires two people to cultivate together. Sister Miaoga is practicing this method, so there's no way I can help you with that. In addition to these, I have one called the Black Dragon Codex, which by Ling practices. It commands Tao soldiers, and upon reaching a high level of mastery, one can transform into a black dragon, summon winds and rain, and control thunder and lightning. Another is called the Demonic Techniques of the 12 Divine Generals. Gathering the thoughts of the 12 Divine Generals, Lu Chongqing softly voiced, introducing the various cultivation techniques he had to Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao was incredibly surprised to hear of the techniques Lu Chongqing possessed. One must know, a single orthodox level cultivation technique was enough to strengthen a sect's foundation. For a nascent soul true lord like Hong Lian, and a top-tier power, her entire sect had only 2 orthodox level cultivation techniques. Yet, Lu Chongqing alone possessed 4 orthodox level cultivation methods. An astonishing feat. Even though she was aware that Lu Chongqing had many cultivation techniques at his disposal, she was still taken aback at this moment. However, when she heard about the demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals, her beautiful eyes revealed a hint of interest. Gathering the thoughts of the demonic generals, refining the body, mana, and spirit, worshipping the 12 divine generals, Ling Zixiao asked, "Husband, could you tell me about this demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals?" Lu Chongqing was slightly surprised, not expecting Ling Zixiao to be interested in this demonic cultivation technique. He paused for a moment, then explained, "This method is 1/3 chi refinement, 1/3 body refinement, and 4 parts spirit refinement. During meditation, you conjure the thoughts of the demonic generals. There are 12 demonic generals within the body, each potentially cultivating to the same level as oneself, and they can also form formations. Husband, I think this method is quite good and seems very suitable for me, Ling Zixiao said with an elegant smile. As a dragon roar physique, it was best for her to cultivate a method that was exceedingly young and perfectly firm, and also focused on body refinement. As an array master, she always held high standards for her divine sense. This demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals, aside from being a demonic cultivation technique, met all her other criteria exceptionally well, especially the condensed 12 demonic generals, which could be used to set up formations and implement talisman formations during battles. Zixiao, if you practice this method, you'll have to try to avoid taking action and traveling out as much as possible in the future. Lu Chongqing mused after hearing this. He didn't mind Ling Zixiao practicing the demonic techniques of the 12 divine generals. After all, this kind of demonic technique wasn't some heinous method that caused harm to the heavens and others. It's just that the Jiang country cultivation realm is still predominantly an orthodox power. Once it's known that one is practicing a demonic cultivation technique, it would draw trouble. However, practicing a demonic cultivation technique isn't something that can be identified just by walking down the street. Unless it's a few specific techniques or those that are practiced with blood qi and are too obviously demonic, most can't be detected. They would require special divine skills related to the spiritual eye or specific treasures to be detected. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 772, 3 Generations, 3 Foundation Establishments, the Dark Demon Corpse. Otherwise, the Blackwater Xiahou family wouldn't have been able to establish a foothold in the Qingyun region for so many years, and even become a great cultivation family. This cultivation technique is indeed likely to cause trouble in Jiang country. The technique from Senior Hong Lian also suits me well. I will see how to choose when the time comes, said the concubine. Ling Zixiao was also aware that cultivating demonic techniques in Jiang country, once troubles arose, would implicate the family. There's no need for such precautions, Zixiao. You don't like going out on normal days, so cultivating this technique won't be a problem. After all, this technique is indeed quite suitable for you. When the time comes, you can try cultivating these few techniques and see which one resonates with you. Lu Chongsheng, holding the hand of his beloved, said warmly with a smile. Since Ling Zixiao was interested in this technique, he felt it didn't matter. After all, Ling Zixiao really was a homebody, hardly ever leaving the house on ordinary days. Sir the Nell Fire, NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the past at Qingzhou Mountain, apart from inspecting spiritual lands, she never left Qingzhou Mountain. Over the years, it had become even more so. She never even left by Lake Mountain. Always at home reading books, comprehending the talisman path, formation path, and setting up formations. In such circumstances, Lu Chongqing felt that Ling Zixiao cultivating demonic techniques wouldn't have an impact. Moreover, this 12-capital heavenly demon divine technique was indeed formidable, categorized as one of the top orthodox level cultivation techniques, even more powerful than his own 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture by a margin. Good! Ling Zixiao smiled sweetly, feeling a warm current flowing in her heart. It was true that she could cultivate Vermilion Bird Sky-Scorching Art and Thunderfire 9 arts just the same. But Lu Changsheng's attitude gave her an indescribable sense of security. 1.5 months later, in the Chongqing Hall, inside the secluded cultivation chamber. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Chongqing was sitting cross-legged, with treasure light flowing through his muscles, shining brightly, and a mysterious power coursing through him. His blood roared inside him, making a thunderous noise, accompanied by the sounds of clashing iron and charging troops, as if divine smiths were forging weapons inside his body, ringing clearly and sonorously. This commotion continued for a long time before gradually calming down. 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, 7th level. Lu Chongqing opened his eyes, his body bathed in golden light flowing with strength, and his spirit was full. At this moment, he was like a divine artifact gleaming with treasure light, radiating an indestructible and brilliant glow, so dazzling that it discouraged all contention. He clenched his fists, his heart thumped loudly, and instantly, a powerful surge of blood pressure spread around him, making the air feel heavier. With my current physical condition, I should be able to suppress that red-robed man now? Lu Chongqing thought as he quietly enjoyed the strength filling his body, recalling the 6 robber cultivators from Red Leaf Valley Market. Back then, the red-robed man, who practiced dual cultivation of magical and physical arts, exchanged blows with him evenly matched. Now that he had broken through to the 7th level of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, with a physique comparable to a superior spiritual artifact, he was confident his body was not inferior to his opponent. Lu Chongqing exhaled a breath of stale air and didn't think too much. He continued to sit cross-legged, calming the blood and qi in his body, consolidating his cultivation. Qingzhou Mountain. Mu Ping, you've broken through Foundation Establishment. Lu Yuanzhong looked at the Lu Muping before him, his entire being filled with immense surprise and disbelief. Even knowing that with the Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir, Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects, and Superior Cultivation Chamber, Lu Muping had a high probability of successfully establishing his foundation. But at this moment, seeing his grandson successfully break through to Foundation Establishment still brought him immense joy beyond his expectation. Because never before had Qingzhou Mountain seen such a prosperous condition. 3 generations, 3 foundation establishments. And all 3 individuals were in the prime of their lives, with 100 years of lifespan. I dared not let the family down and managed to break through Foundation Establishment, said Lu Muping as he looked at his elder with a bowed hand and solemn voice. He knew the family had invested a lot for him to break through to Foundation Establishment. Good, good, good. Lu Yuanzhong patted his shoulder heavily, laughing loud and tearfully. He remembered how the elder ancestral patriarch of past generations passed on a struggling Lu family to him. In less than 20 years, the family had reached a pinnacle with such prosperity. As long as the family continued on this stable path, there was even hope to go further and cultivate a false core immortal, becoming a great cultivation family. However, he knew that their growth over these years was all thanks to Lu Chongqing. If it hadn't been for Lu Chongqing, he would probably have died by now under the poison of corpses, and the idea of Lu Miaoge and Lu Muping's foundation establishment would have been out of the question. They would have had to rely on that slim chance, risking their lives. Mu Ping, the matter of your foundation establishment must remain a secret to the family for now, and must not be leaked to outsiders. Lu Yuanzhong cautioned again, solemnly emphasizing the instructions he had given earlier. Don't worry, grandfather, I understand, Lu Muping replied respectfully. Now, come with me to Bai Lake Mountain to meet your uncle Chongqing. Remember, you must show gratitude towards him, be respectful and restrained, and do not let the pride of breaking through to Foundation Establishment get to your head. Lu Yuanzhong advised and reminded him. He knew Lu Changsheng's personality was easygoing and he probably wouldn't mind these matters much. But the closer the 2 families were, the more he felt he needed to pay attention to these details to avoid creating any rifts between them. Moreover, he was clear in his heart that Lu Chongqing might look after Qingzhou Mountain for the sake of Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Yuanding, 4th elder, and the children in the family. However, Lu Muping and Lu Chongqing didn't have much of a relationship. Thus, it was essential for Lu Muping to make a good impression in Lu Changsheng's heart. That way, even if the elder generation gradually passed away or ascended, the 2 families could continue to maintain their relationship. I understand, grandfather. Lu Muping nodded in response. Having broken through to Foundation Establishment, he inevitably felt a hint of arrogance in his heart. After all, breaking through from Qi refinement to Foundation Establishment was like leaping over the Dragon's Gate, transforming from an ordinary cultivator to a revered elder. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 773, 3 Generations, 3 Foundation Establishments. The Dark Demon Corpse. But when he thought of Lu Changsheng's achievements and the changes in his 2 aunts, he dared not harbor even the slightest bit of arrogance. He knew full well that his uncle's strength and methods were unfathomably deep. Uncle is here? Lu Chongqing was in retreat when he received a message from Lu Miaoyun, notifying him that Lu Yuanzhong had come to visit. He got up and left the Chongqing Hall, and upon reaching the Lu family mansion's reception hall, he immediately saw Lu Yuanzhong inside. Next to him sat a 30-something-year-old man with a heroic-looking face. It was none other than Lu Muping from the Lu family. Muping, congratulations on breaking through to Foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing immediately revealed a smile and congratulated him aloud. He could see at a glance that Lu Muping had successfully broken through to Foundation establishment. Calculating the time, it had been more than half a year since he sent Lu Muping to the Qingyun market. It was about time for him to return after breaking through to Foundation establishment. Chongsheng. Greetings, uncle. Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Muping hastened to their feet when they saw Lu Chongsheng. Without uncle, how could I have such an opportunity to establish my foundation? Please accept my gratitude. Lu Muping said, bowing respectfully to Lu Chongsheng once more. Haha, we're all family here. No need for such formalities. Lu Chongqing laughed, then helped him to his feet. Afterward, he sat down in the main seat and asked Lu Yuanzhong if he came over for anything in particular. This visit is mainly to inform you about Muping's breakthrough in Foundation establishment and to have Muping properly thank you. Lu Yuanzhong began and continued. Regarding the news of Muping's Foundation establishment, our family won't announce it publicly for the time being. We will wait for an opportune moment to declare it and hold a grand ceremony. Haha, such matters could simply be mentioned in a message from uncle. There really is no need for trouble, Lu Chongqing said with a laugh. They then drank tea and chatted leisurely, discussing some insights on Foundation establishment cultivation. In the course of the conversation, Lu Yuanzhong mentioned that in some days, he would be heading to Red Leaf Valley Market to take charge, leaving Lu Muping in command of Qingzhou Mountain. As for Lu Miaoge, she could continue her peaceful cultivation at Bai Lake Mountain. That would be very kind of you, uncle. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing did not offer empty courtesies. He had expended so much effort to aid Qingzhou Mountain in Foundation establishment, ostensibly to repay his debt of gratitude to Qingzhou Mountain. But more so, it was for his wife, Lu Miaoge. He hoped that Lu Miaoge could cultivate in peace at Bai Lake Mountain. After the casual chat, the two had dinner at Bai Lake Mountain and then, disguising their appearances, they departed. Sar the Nafire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Aside from Lu Miaoyun guessing the news of Lu Muping's breakthrough to Foundation establishment, no one else knew of this. Thank you, my husband. Lu Miaoyun came to express her gratitude to Lu Chongqing. Although her relationship with Lu Muping was quite ordinary and they were not very familiar with each other, having grown up in Qingzhou Mountain, she naturally hoped that Qingzhou Mountain would continue to prosper. Haha, there is no need for such words between us as husband and wife. Lu Chongqing held his wife's hand, chuckled softly, and said. Afterward, he and his wife went to the attic to enjoy the moonlit night and have a long conversation. Half a month later, Lu Yuanzhong went to sit in at the Red Leaf Valley Market, taking over Lu Miaoge's rotation. This change did not cause any impact on the marketplace. Neither the Bai family nor the Zheng family had any objections. Officially, Lu Miaoge was said to have returned to Qingzhou Mountain for closed-door cultivation, but in reality, she had gone back to Bai Lake Mountain. Sister Miaoge, now you can properly focus on your cultivation. Once Zi Xiao's injuries are healed, we, together with Huan, will visit the Jinyang sect. Lu Chongqing spoke to his wife in a gentle voice. Now that the Mount Sumeru Tree King was guarding their home, as soon as Ling Zixio's injuries were healed, he could leave with peace of mind to visit their children in Yu Country. Having the children taken to the Jinyang sect for cultivation without even a proper farewell from their father weighed heavily on his heart with guilt. All right, Lu Miaoge replied softly, her beautiful eyes revealing a mixture of longing and anticipation. As a mother, it was impossible not to miss her daughter who had gone to the Jinyang sect in Yu Country for cultivation, especially when she sometimes saw her sister, Lu Miaohuan, inadvertently show her own longing, which only deepened her sense of guilt and self-reproach. She believed that had she not initially agreed to send her children to the Jinyang sect, none of this separation would have been necessary and perhaps it would have been better for them to be taught by Lu Chongshang at home. In a branch of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, deep within a valley basin shrouded in a sinister atmosphere of corpses, blood, and poisonous miasma. Hoo, Xiahou Wuwa sat cross-legged, surrounded by chilling winds. Before him stood a colossal figure with the body of a man and the head of an ox. The entire figure emanated a dense necrotic aura, its muscular, dragon-like body covered with countless black symbols resembling worms or tadpoles, mysterious and terrifying, exuding an intense and intimidating presence. Its lantern-like eyes and the dark horns glinted with a soul-piercing crimson gleam, flickering uncertainly. Dark-in demon Sha, spirits and ghosts. Xiahou Wuo's eyes suddenly snapped open, blood-red as he stared at the massive oxen corpse before him, muttering disjointedly under his breath. He then formed hand seals, and strands of black qi seeped from his body, rising and spreading like mist. At that moment, the chilly winds rapidly picked up, howling eerily and intensely, like the wailing of ghosts and wolves. With a forceful slap to his chest, Xiahou Wuwa expelled a droplet of blood, crimson and glistening, which flew towards the oxen corpse. In an instant, a violent, brutal, and terrifying force radiated from the corpse, enough to make one's scalp tingle with dread. On the dark ground, a layer of frost formed as if out of nowhere. Roar, roar, roar. Whimper, whimper, whimper. Cages containing demon beasts dotted the valley. At that moment, as if sensing something horrifying, the beasts let out terrified roars, quivering and trembling uncontrollably. It's so cold. What's happening? Such a terrifying and intimidating force. It's coming from the direction of our ancestor. Could it be that he has mastered a new divine skill? In the valley, there were several huts and cave dwellings, home to a number of cultivators. In that moment, they all felt the temperature drop. The air permeated with a terrifying and odd presence, causing an inexplicable sense of dread and breathlessness. Hoo. In the depths of the valley, black miasma rolled and spread. Not just around Xiahou Wuwa, but the ox-headed corpse in front of him was also enveloped by the roiling black qi. Come! With a beckoning gesture, Xiahou Wuwa summoned several demon beasts that had been prepared earlier. With a clench of his hand, the beasts exploded, turning into hot mist of blood that surged towards the ox-headed corpse. At that moment, the once flickering eyes of the corpse now glinted like red agate, crimson as blood. Boom! Suddenly, there was a deafening sound of thunder outside the valley. A torrential downpour fell unexpectedly. The dark demon corpse, it's finally complete. Xiahou Wuwa looked up at the ox-headed corpse before him and laughed maniacally. But on his rigid, grayish face, a pair of blood-red eyes glinted malevolently, filled with a predatory and cruel coldness. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 774. Both breakthroughs. Zhao Qingqing attempts foundation establishment. _1/2 a year later. Chongqing Hall, the closed-door retreat chamber. Lu Chongqing and Lu Miaoge sat facing each other, with their palms opposite each other, their bodies gleaming, their qi flowing abundantly around them, an august aura surrounding them, as countless streams of nature's spiritual energy converged within them. As the Tai Shangshui Ju was a dual cultivation technique for Dao companions, their regular cultivation naturally complemented and enhanced each other's progress. In the past half year since Lu Miaoge's return, not only had Ling Zixio's recovery progressed, but the cultivation speed of both Lu Chongsheng and Lu Miaoge had improved significantly. With the gathering of spiritual energy, their qi circulated and merged into one. Boom! Suddenly, a wave of mana and spiritual pressure burst forth from within their bodies as they each achieved a breakthrough. 47 years old, Foundation Establishment 6th layer. Lu Chongqing opened his eyes that shone like stars and let out a breath. Although he mostly spent his time on talisman making, alchemy, and accompanying his wives and children, his cultivation had not been delayed too much. With the improvement of his spiritual root, a sufficient supply of elixir medicines, and the effects of dual cultivation with the Dao Foundation, his rate of cultivation even exceeded that of many who devoted themselves to arduous practice. After briefly sensing the changes from the breakthrough, The total amount of 7 luminaries mana in his body had increased by 20% compared to the Foundation Establishment 5th layer. However, there was no significant difference in quality. This increase was not as significant as the enhancement he received from the Profound Origin bead. Nonetheless, as long as he took another step forward, breaking through to the 7th layer of Foundation Establishment and entering the late stage of the realm, his mana and strength would undergo a qualitative transformation. Congratulations, my husband. At that moment, Lu Miaoga also slowly concluded her cultivation, opening her gentle, water-like eyes that moved with joy and admiration. Hee. Congratulations, Sister Miaoga, on breaking through to the 3rd layer of Foundation Establishment. Lu Chongqing looked at his wife and laughed. Because Lu Miaoga's cultivation had been delayed over the years, she was still at the 2nd layer of Foundation Establishment. Otherwise, with his Tai Dao seed and the elixir medicines he provided, she should have broken through to the 3rd layer long ago. Such great joy must be well celebrated. Lu Chongsheng embraced his soft and fragrant wife with her jade-like smooth skin. After some playful and tender moments together, the two dressed and left Chongqing Hall to head towards the Lu family mansion. Yuner, has anything happened at home during these days? Lu Chongqing asked his wife Lu Miaoyun. Although he didn't worry about household matters, he still paid attention to some general affairs. Nothing much, Lu Miaoyun replied softly. However, under the guidance of Senior Hong Lian, there has been progress and breakthroughs in the breeding of the king carps at home. She cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, consecrating the luminous treasure tree as her life-bound spiritual root, radiating a vibrant and refreshing life force that was extremely comfortable to be around. Oh, there's been a breakthrough in the carp breeding at home. That is indeed good news. Lu Changsheng's face showed a hint of a smile upon hearing this. Hong Lian, being a 3rd-rank top-level beast tamer, was very skilled in the breeding of spiritual beasts. Therefore, over the years, she had provided suggestions and guidance on the breeding of the Bichon Crimson Carps and Bichon Azure Carps at Bai Shui Lake. For instance, last year's fishing production at Bai Lake Mountain increased by more than 10%. Thus, Lu Chongsheng was planning to open another spiritual beast breeding farm on Bai Lake Mountain, while also cultivating spiritual beasts. After chatting for a while, Lu Chongqing took Lu Miaoga and Lu Miaoyun to inspect the fisheries. Greetings to the mountain master. Greetings to the lady. Father, Auntie. CTH Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhong Yu and Lu Xiaoru, among other fishermen, came to pay their respects. Hee. I heard there's been a breakthrough in the carp breeding, so I came to have a look. Lu Chongsheng waved his hand and looked towards the fishery. He saw the large carps swimming around. Reporting to the mountain master, the time for the carps to ascend to king carps has been reduced by a full 30%, and during the breeding process, Zhong Yu promptly began to report. You've done well with this. The clan will reward you in due course. Lu Chongqing encouraged him. Although the optimization of carp breeding was mainly due to Hong Lian's advice and guidance, it also required the efforts of the people below to implement it. After briefly inspecting the fishery and the spiritual fields, Lu Chongqing returned to the Lu family mansion to host a family banquet, lively and bustling. With so many wives at home, it was inevitable that he could not accompany each and every one of them. Therefore, after each short period of seclusion, he would host a family banquet to enliven the atmosphere at home. During these times, he would take the opportunity to chat with his wives and children about ordinary family matters. However, now most of the conversations with his wives, aside from worrying about his well-being, revolved around discussing their children's affairs. For example, Chu Jinjin said with a wronged expression that it had been almost 2 years since her son Lu Chuanjin, aside from writing 2 letters, hadn't even visited home once. There were also his daughters, Lu Yuzhen and Lu Caizhen, who were not young anymore, and it was time to consider seeking husbands and starting families. Don't worry, Chuanjin is fine. He should be coming home soon, I estimate, Lu Chongsheng said helplessly. He had the Lu family genealogy and was aware of the safety of the children at home. His son, Lu Chuanjin, was doing very well. However, he was also curious about the situations of his children who were traveling outside. He wanted to know what kind of experiences they were having during their journeys. I've heard that some treasures can show scenes from 1,000 miles away, or some divine skills can sense the situation of one's close kin through the network of blood. If I could draw such a magical treasure, I'll have more fun and entertainment at home, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He suddenly thought it would be quite nice if he could draw such a magical treasure in a lottery. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about his children being abroad, and it would save his wives from worrying too. Black Stone Market. At the entrance of a secluded courtyard within the market, Taoist Chu, please come in for a detailed talk. A woman in her 20s, with a face like a peach blossom and dressed in a palace attire, beckoned the young man in a black robe with a sweet voice. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 775. Both Breakthroughs. Zhao Qingqing attempts foundation establishment. She wore a flamboyant red gauze dress, with a low-cut neckline that showcased her ample, snow-white skin, which seemed ready to burst forth. The dress had slits on both sides, through which her long, fair legs appeared fleetingly. Fairy Zhao, this isn't quite proper, is it? We could have discussed this over a drink at the inn outside. A hint of awkwardness and hesitation appeared on the face of the youth in a black robe. What's there to be afraid of? Or are you worried that I, your humble servant, might eat you up? The woman in the red dress cast a coy look, chuckled lightly, her allure captivating. Then, she extended a fair arm and took the initiative to grasp the hand of the youth in the black robe. Her body exuded a fragrance that tickled the senses, almost causing one's heart and mind to gallop away. The youth in the black robe was taken aback and subconsciously squeezed the tender, boneless palm in his hand. Then, he followed the woman into the courtyard without realizing it. You know, you're quite young to always wear such a stern face. She teased the youth in the black robe playfully, her voice dripping with coquettish charm. Fairy Zhao, go to. The youth seemed a bit embarrassed, looking at the woman before him with a smitten gaze, then raised his palm as if intending to caress her cheek. But the next instant, Poochie, cold light flickered. A dagger had appeared in the hand of the youth without knowing when. There was no aura of spiritual power about this dagger. It was purely a manifestation of martial prowess. It made a swift cut across the neck of the woman in the red dress, blood spraying out. Panic, fear, and disbelief filled the eyes of the woman in the red dress. She had not anticipated that the youth, who had just looked at her with infatuated eyes under the influence of her bewitching technique, would suddenly attack her. And the pure martial force had been so swift and fierce that her protective magic artifact had no chance to automatically defend her. The beautiful woman fell to the ground with a thud, blood gushing from her neck, creating a pool of blood. The other two friends, come on out. Lu Chuanjin, clad in a black and gold robe, and with a commanding presence and sharp features, spoke with a deep voice. Looks like you've hidden yourself well, boy. When did you figure something was wrong? From within the house, a deep voice resonated. Two men emerged from the house, glaring coldly at Lu Chuanjin. I want to know why you two are so persistently targeting me? Lu Quanzhen's eyes narrowed as he questioned the two men with a serious tone. Half a year ago, you killed two of my brothers in the Black Cloud Mountains. You were only at the 6th level of Qi refinement, yet you managed to slay my two brothers. This indicates that you must possess some fortuitous secrets. Thus, whether it's for avenging my brothers or for your secrets, we cannot let you go. One of the men, who had dark skin and was short and thin, looked at Lu Chuanjin with eyes full of murderous intent. The Black Cloud Mountains? Two brothers? Lu Quanzhen's brows slightly furrowed, immediately recalling the incident. He remembered encountering two robber cultivators while hunting demon beasts in the Black Cloud Mountains. He continued to ask, I dealt with those two cleanly and there were no other people around at the time. How do you know about it? That was something he found quite puzzling. Because he had disposed of the bodies cleanly and left no trace of himself. It's because after you killed them, your body carried the scent of a perfume I had concocted, Another taller and thinner man spoke up. Perfume. Lu Chuanjin considered thoughtfully. He was sure he had removed all traces after the killings. Stop thinking about it. This perfume is my unique blend and only spiritual beasts can detect it. Now can you tell me, when did you realize something was off with you, heir? The tall thin man asked Lu Chuanjin. It's simple. Your motives for approaching me were too obvious, too eager. Lu Chuanjin spoke indifferently. Just like now, you're waiting for the poison to take effect on me. What, you knew we were using poison? The expressions of the two men changed drastically upon hearing this. They had not expected Lu Chuanjin to be aware that they had been using poison. In this situation, he was still casually chatting with them. Damn! This youngster is using poison as well. The shorter and thinner man immediately sensed something was amiss and hastily closed off his pores, summoning his magic artifact, ready to make a move. However, in that instant, SSSSH, a dark gold puppet appeared, turned into a streak, and tore through the air, raising a wave of turbulence as it appeared in front of the two men. The puppet's dark gold dazzling war blade, like a bolt of thunder and lightning, struck with formidable and domineering force, slashing forward. No! The two men, facing this scene, their pupils dilated, reflecting the cold dark gold war blade, felt terror, powerlessness, regret, and despair. Poochie! Poochie! Their surrounding protective auras and automatic defense magic artifacts activated. Yet against the puppet's slash, the aura shields shattered like bubbles. Along with the sound of slicing flesh and anguished screams, blood sprayed, and two heads rolled. Phew! Lu Chuanjin exhaled lightly. Looking at the two headless corpses, he murmured to himself, with the treasures my father gave me, such trials still lack some efficacy for my benefit. Without this second-rank puppet and the life-saving talismans from my father, even if I was 50% certain that these people harbored ill intentions towards me, I wouldn't dare take such risks. Lu Chuanjin muttered to himself. Although he had acted decisively, he was not entirely certain of the other party's situation, and whether there were only 3 of them. But as the saying goes, there can only be a thief for a day, not a preventative measure for 1,000 days. Since he realized he was targeted with malicious intent, and had a 3 to 5% certainty, he naturally chose to take action first, to counter their plans and nip the threat in the bud. Without dwelling on it any longer, Lu Chuanjin gathered the storage bags of the 3, burnt their bodies to ashes, and then, after scouring the room, he changed his appearance and left the marketplace. Sir, the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 776. Both breakthroughs. Zhao Qingqing attempts foundation establishment. Although the courtyard was protected by a formation from prying eyes, it wasn't visible from the outside world. But Lu Chongqing wasn't certain if these individuals had accomplices, so he was eager to leave as soon as possible. By Lake Mountain, Bune Villa. Lu Daoist, I am planning to return to the sect and enter seclusion to strike at foundation establishment, so I might not be able to come here this year. One day, Zhao Qingqing came to Bai Lake Mountain, inspected the state of the spiritual medicines, and spoke to Lu Chongqing. She was dressed in a pale green long dress, her features elegant and beautiful, with a graceful and slender figure. Her bearing somewhat resembled Lu Miaoyun, who cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, exuding a thriving and refreshing vegetative essence. Striking at foundation establishment? Lu Chongqing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this and asked, Does Zhao Daoist have the foundation establishment elixir prepared? He knew she had been preparing for her foundation establishment for quite some time. Foundation establishment elixirs are hard to come by. With my current contributions to the sect, I can neither obtain nor afford one. Go to. Zhao Qingqing's face showed a trace of bitterness. 9 years prior, she had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement and had started planning for her foundation establishment. But despite being busy all these years, she had only managed to gather 1 meridian protecting elixir and 2 Foundation Establishment spiritual objects. As for the Foundation Establishment elixir, it was incredibly difficult for her to obtain. Even if she had the chance to earn enough spirit stones and contributions before the age of 60, she would not be eligible to exchange for a Foundation Establishment elixir. Within Qingyun sect, one needed certain qualifications to exchange for a Foundation Establishment elixir. Moreover, she had previously offended her master. Not only was he unwilling to help, but he also never allocated any significant spiritual medicines from the medicine garden to her. This hindered the improvement of her spiritual plant cultivation skills, making it impossible to earn sufficient contributions in the sect. I happen to have a Foundation Establishment elixir. If Zhao Daoist is in need, I am willing to sell it to you, Lu Chongsheng said pensively. He had previously refined 3 Foundation Establishment elixirs. He gave one to Qingzhou Mountain and was left with 2. Apart from the one destined for Bai Ling, he had no immediate need for the other. After all, at present only Lu Miaoyun in his family had reached the 9th level of energy refinement. However, since she cultivated the heavenly longevity technique, elixir medicines were of no aid to her cultivation, and she had no need for a Foundation Establishment elixir either. Given the circumstances, it seemed better to sell the Foundation Establishment elixir to Zhao Qingqing. With her 6th grade spiritual root and Vegbody constitution, if she had the elixir, there was a relatively high chance she could break through the Foundation Establishment. In doing so, the 2 of them could also forge a good karmic relationship. Foundation Establishment elixir. Zhao Qingqing trembled at his words as if she had misheard. As a cultivator, she naturally desired to break through Foundation Establishment immensely. Countless times she had dreamt of obtaining a Foundation Establishment elixir to achieve her breakthrough, no longer having to endure her master's displeasure. But she was acutely aware. On her own, the chances of obtaining a Foundation Establishment elixir were extremely slim. Thus, after saving up 1 meridian-protecting elixir and 2 Foundation Establishment spiritual objects, she was prepared to make her Foundation Establishment attempt. Even if she were to fail, given her age, she could just barely afford another attempt. Yet, to her utter astonishment, at this very moment, Lu Chongqing was actually offering to sell her a Foundation Establishment elixir. Thank you for your kind offer, Lu Daoist, but I have already spent my entire savings on this current preparation, so I must give up on the Foundation Establishment elixir. Zhao Qingqing sighed, her expression bitter as she shook her head. Despite her eagerness, purchasing the meridian-protecting elixir, 2 Foundation Establishment spiritual objects, and an earlier 3 Suns elixir had exhausted all of her savings. If she now wished to buy a Foundation Establishment elixir, she would have to persevere for another decade or more to save the required amount. That's not a problem. If Zhao Daoist doesn't have the spirit stones right now, you can owe the amount and repay it in installments over time, Lu Chongsheng said with a smile, taking out the Foundation Establishment elixir. Although his own cultivation journey had been smooth so far, he was aware of the difficulties ordinary cultivators faced in attempting Foundation Establishment. For ordinary cultivators with decent talent who dedicated themselves to cultivation, reaching the 9th level of Qi refinement wasn't too hard. But once at the 9th level, securing a Foundation Establishment elixir and spiritual objects became an enormous challenge. Someone like Zhao Qingqing, with a unique skill and backed by a sect, was already fortunate to enjoy many conveniences. Most loose cultivators, without any good fortune, would have no choice but to become robber cultivators, hunt demon beasts, or explore ancient ruins for spirit stones to earn a chance at Foundation Establishment. In the end, they typically risked their lives on 1 or 2 Foundation Establishment spiritual objects, gambling on a future with slim hopes. Owe it, and repay it in installments. Upon hearing this, Zhao Qingqing's beautiful eyes flickered, her expression slightly dazed. Why would Lu Daoist help me in such a manner? She looked at the handsome Lu Chongqing in front of her, a notion crossing her mind. 3 years ago, when the cultivation of spiritual plants and medicines on Bai Lake Mountain had become stable, requiring little from her as a second-rank spiritual plant master, she had considered resigning from her position as a guest elder of Bai Lake Mountain. But Lu Chongqing assured that with her, a spiritual plant master, any unforeseen events could be resolved. She could even offer guidance on issues related to spirit plants to his wives and children in her spare time. So he continued to employ her as a guest elder in his household. Now, as she prepared for her foundation establishment, Lu Chongqing not only offered to sell her a foundation establishment elixir but also allowed her to owe it to him and repay it slowly. Before, it might have been all right, but how could she explain it now? SAR the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This was a foundation establishment elixir, something countless energy refining cultivators dreamt of obtaining. A single elixir medicine was worth 20,000 spirit stones. If she succeeded in her foundation establishment, she would have the means to repay the elixir. But what if she failed to break through? Zhao Qingqing wasn't foolish. Although she had joined the Immortal sects, she had experienced a lot over the years and understood the warmth and coldness of society. Why was Lu Chongqing so willing to help her? What was his intention? Was it because of her abilities or her looks? Though she knew she was good-looking, she wasn't exceptionally beautiful. She even couldn't compare to some of Lu Changsheng's wives and concubines. With Lu Changsheng's current status, if he was willing to offer a foundation establishment elixir, countless beauties would volunteer themselves. But apart from such a possibility, she really couldn't think of any other reason. After all, Lu Chongqing had so many beautiful wives and concubines, and it seemed he was still continuously taking in more concubines and maids. Thank you for your kind offer, Taoist Lu, but I'd better not. I really don't know how to repay such a favor. Even though Zhao Qingqing was very tempted by the foundation establishment elixir, she still shook her head and declined. She had her own principles. If for the sake of this elixir she gave up her principles, then there was no need to wait until now. Had she agreed to her master's matchmaking, she might have already achieved foundation establishment. Once Zhao Daoist breaks through to foundation establishment, as a disciple of the Immortal sects, repaying these won't be a problem in the future. Or do you feel that acquiring this foundation establishment elixir is too easy and lacks a sense of achievement? Or perhaps you're worried about failing the breakthrough and being unable to repay it. Lu Chongqing raised an eyebrow, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. He wasn't surprised by Zhao Qingqing's response. After all, their relationship, though not bad, wasn't close enough to owe 20,000 spirit stones. Taoist Lu. Zhao Qingqing gave Lu Chongqing a glance. What did he mean by no sense of achievement? Worrying about failing the breakthrough and being unable to repay? But he wasn't wrong either. She truly did feel that the foundation establishment elixir came too easily, incurring too great a favor. If she failed to break through with this elixir, repaying it would be too hard. Zhao Daoist, we have known each other for many years. If I'm willing to produce this foundation establishment elixir, it means I trust your character. If you need it, just accept this elixir and don't put too much psychological burden on yourself. If you're really worried about repaying it, you can deduct from the guest elder fees and work for Mai by Lake Mountain for 20 years. Lu Chongqing saw that Zhao Qingqing was in a dilemma and smiled openly. Though he had a few other intentions in giving this elixir, he indeed partly wanted to help a friend. Zhao Qingqing's expression twisted in conflict. She knew if she missed this opportunity, another like it might not come again. In the end, she couldn't resist the temptation of foundation establishment and softly said, "In that case, thank you, Taoist Lu. Please rest assured, Taoist Lu, I will repay this spirit stone debt and favor as soon as possible." Zhao Qingqing accepted the porcelain bottle with a grave face. Of course, I trust Zhao Daoist's character." Lu Chongqing laughed. This is a premium foundation establishment elixir. Zhao Qingqing opened the porcelain bottle and immediately showed surprise, astonishment, and delight. Keep in mind, her expectations were just for a standard foundation establishment elixir. But now, Lu Chongqing had actually provided a premium foundation establishment elixir, truly adding an unexpected joy to her experience. After all, this almost touched upon her half-chances of successful foundation establishment. Yes. Lu Chongqing nodded. This favor from Taoist Lu, I really don't know how to repay it. Zhao Qingqing looked at Lu Chongqing with mixed feelings, feeling that this favor she owed was a bit too much. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 777. 30 Years of Hard Work. Xiahou Wuwa Strikes. _1 Qingyun Sect. Outside the main gate. Lu Daoist. Why are you helping me like this? Zhao Qingqing looked at Lu Changsheng with complex emotions and asked in a daze. Don't ask. If you ask, it's because I crave your body. Lu Changsheng saw the turmoil in Zhao Qingqing's heart and said with a light laugh. Ah! Upon hearing his words, Zhao Qingqing's mind buzzed, and she was somewhat stupefied. Although she had such a guess in her heart, she never expected Lu Changsheng to respond like this. Her heart immediately started thumping with fast beats. Thank you, Lu Daoist, for seeing me off. Qingqing will go back first. She immediately cupped her hands in thanks and then quickly entered the gate. Go to. If someone else were to be so frivolous, she would naturally scold them coldly. But when Lu Changxing spoke like that, it really made her stupefied, dizzy, and her heart inexplicably sped up. After all these years, she had a rather positive impression of Lu Changxing. Apart from being somewhat promiscuous, she couldn't pick out any other faults with him. In particular, she envied his usual leisurely, easygoing and carefree attitude towards life. Although she had a certain pursuit in cultivation, she was not firmly committed to the great Tao. Deep down, she truly yearned for a leisurely life dedicated to cultivating spirit plants and healing others. Huff! Zhao Qingqing let out a long breath to calm herself, muttering to herself, Lu Daoist must have seen the confusion in my heart and made that joke to help me relax, not overthink, and focus on my foundation establishment. However, she keenly sensed in her heart that she wasn't very opposed to Lu Changxing. Not like when facing the grandson of her own master. Hee. Outside the gate, Lu Changxing saw Zhao Qingqing leave in a bit of a hurry and chuckled lightly. Although his words were a joke, they did carry a bit of truth. Zhao Qingqing, having only a 6th grade spiritual root but still being a Vagabond, caught his interest. He had once read in ancient books that if both parents were spiritual bodies, their offspring had a higher probability of being born with a spiritual body. However, the chances of birthing a spiritual body were exceedingly low, and no one could specify exactly. There was just such a theory. Furthermore, if she could break through to foundation establishment with her Vagabond, it would indeed boost the path of spirit plant cultivation significantly. In turn, it could be of certain help to his own golden armor bean mother, luminous treasure tree, and even the abyssal ghoul blossom or Mount Sumeru tree king. But she was not yet one of his own. These things he was not yet willing to let her know about, to study and cultivate. But once a woman starts to be moved, it should not be difficult. Lu Changxing shook his head, not overthinking it, and rode the flying shuttle back to Bai Lake Mountain. Such matters were just casual deeds for him. He was not forceful about them, letting nature take its course. A day and a half later. Chuanjin? Lu Changxing rode a purple flying shuttle back to Bai Lake Mountain's boundary. Seeing a black-robed youth below riding a spirit steed, he recognized his son Lu Chuanjin and immediately descended. Lu Chuanjin instinctively tensed his body, but upon seeing the visitor was Lu Changxing, a smile broke across his face as he called out, "Father!" He was clad in a black brocade robe, his features stern, looking much the same as 2 years ago. But Lu Changxing keenly noticed that his son, compared to 2 years ago, had developed a bit more killing intent. Clearly, these past 2 years abroad hadn't been without bloodshed. You finally decided to come back, Lu Changxing said with a bemused smile. My travels have been long. I've caused you worry, father. Lu Chuanjin spoke up. Your mother has been talking about you every day. Lu Changxing shook his head, asking his son to put away the spirit steed. Then, picking up his son and forming a mana shield around them, he whisked Lu Chuanjin across the sky like a shooting star, directly into Bai Lake Mountain, returning to Bai Yun Peak. So this is foundation establishment, flying through the sky. Lu Chuanjin murmured to himself as he landed on Bai Yun Peak, expressing a bit of longing for the experience of flying through the air. Chuanjin? Chu Jinjin. Upon hearing the news, rushed over in a hurry to see her son had returned. Clad in a pink and white dress with her hair neatly coiffed and a white jade hairpin askew on her head, she advanced upon him with a worried expression, pinched her son's arm and said with concern, "Why have you taken so long to return? It must have been hard outside. Mother can see you've gotten thin." Lu Chongqing. Lu Caizhen. The father and daughter next to Chu Zhenjin were both somewhat speechless at her comment. They didn't see where Lu Chuanjin had gotten thin. Lu Chongqing, for one, noticed not only the increase in killing intent on his son but also a significant improvement in his cultivation level. As for his sister Lu Caizhen, even though she couldn't perceive much, she also felt her brother somewhat changed, seemingly more fierce. Then Chu Zhenjin began inquiring about her son's life abroad over the past 2 years, and whether he had been bullied. Lu Chuanjin reassured her that his travels were safe and had never encountered any danger, then described the places had been to, the interesting things had come across, and how his experiences had broadened his horizons, charming Chu Zhenjin into wonder and making her feel that such travels seemed quite enjoyable. Lu Chongqing listened and just shook his head. Sir the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Such tales could deceive Chu Zhenjin but not Lu Miaoyun or Lu Miaohuan. Neither of them would believe such tall tales from their son. After the mother and son had caught up, Lu Chongqing and his son stepped out of the hall, and he took out a high-rank breakthrough elixir from his storage bag and handed it to his son. He said, "This is a high-grade breakthrough elixir. You can use it if you need it. However, it's best to break through on your own if you can, and not rely on elixir medicines." His son Lu Chuanjin was only an 8th-grade spiritual root. Without the help of a breakthrough elixir, it would be quite difficult to advance past the energy refinement late stage, likely requiring a long struggle. Considering his son's activities involved fighting and killing outside, he directly gave him an elixir, hoping he would focus on cultivating at home in peace. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 778. 30 Years of Hard Work. Xiahou Wuwa Strikes. Thank you for your kindness, Father, but during my trip outside, I also had my own good fortune and obtained a high-grade breakthrough elixir. Lu Chuanjin was slightly taken aback, a hint of a smile appearing on his face. In his heart, he couldn't help feeling sentimental, having such a father. He indeed didn't need to try so hard. On his travels, he gained a deeper insight into the lower echelons of the cultivation world. He knew that most loose cultivators in the cultivation world were struggling to survive, full of calculations. Not to mention, just such a high-grade breakthrough elixir could make countless loose cultivators flock to it, willing to risk their lives for it. Immediately after, he took the initiative to recount some of his adventures, sharing what he saw and learned. Your willingness to work hard is a good thing, and I am very comforted. But remember, the family will always be your support. You can talk to me about anything. Lu Chongqing exhaled softly and patted his son on the shoulder. It's good for children to have their own convictions and to be independent. But he didn't like them being too independent, relying entirely on themselves for everything. It was okay to freeload off the family when necessary. After all, in the cultivation world, relying solely on oneself for everything was just too exhausting. I understand, Father. Lu Chuanjin nodded. He then expressed his desire to run a shop in the Nine Dragons Market, to experience a different kind of life. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing naturally agreed with pleasure, instructing him to go find Lu Yun to make arrangements within the family. Myriad Beasts Mountain Range. A stronghold of the Qingyun sect. Boom! 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 Suddenly, a series of terrifying attacks bombarded the stronghold's great formation, causing a huge commotion. Audacious! Who dares to attack my Qingyun sect? The false core Immortal, overseeing the stronghold, suddenly opened his eyes and rebuked loudly. With white hair and a youthful face, he was clad in a purple magical robe, surrounded by dense purple mist, exuding a terrifying might that put everyone in the stronghold on high alert. Boom! 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 A figure shrouded in a black cloak could be seen wielding a spiritual artifact staff, furiously pounding the stronghold's great formation, causing loud rumbling noises. Seeking death. The Qingyun sect's false core Immortal flew into a rage upon seeing this. Indignant that a mere false core, unarmed with magical treasures, dared to cause trouble at his stronghold. He immediately soared into the sky, maneuvering the formation as purple lightning and red sparks filled the void around him, unleashing an attack on the figure in the black cloak. Ha! The figure in the black cloak let out a shout, tossed the staff into the air, and it burst forth with brilliant spiritual light, which then split from 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. In the blink of an eye, they covered the sky and shrouded the entire formation, continuing the bombardment. Heavenly thunder art. The purple-robed false core Immortal let out a cold snort. A Dharma bead filled with purple lightning in his hand appeared. The thunder around the formation intensified, forming a formidable and fierce thunder dragon, dozens of feet in size, charging towards the figure in the black cloak with a roar. Boom! 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 In the mountain range, thunderous explosions rang out as the two combatants clashed, their purple lightning and black spiritual light intertwining. After several exchanges, the figure in the black cloak seemed to falter, and a black great axe appeared in his hand, swinging with countless dark runes, shaking off the lightning attack and trying to flee. Ia the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. You are Xiahou Wuwa. The purple-robed elder immediately recognized the identity of the figure upon seeing the magical axe. It was Xiahou Wuwa, the infamous Xiahou Money, wanted by his sect and the entire Jiang country cultivation realm. Seeing Xiahou Wuwa attempting to escape, he immediately ascended, shouting, "Demonic path thief! Where do you think you're going?" Although he didn't know why Xiahou Wuwa suddenly attacked his stronghold, encountering him by chance, he naturally would not let him go. Moreover, his cultivation method was of the thunder type, which was particularly effective against Xiahou Wuwa, and he was confident he could suppress the other party. Whoosh! Grasping the heavenly thunder Dharma bead, writhing lightning serpents encircled him, transforming into a dazzling streak like a shooting star, chasing down Xiahou Wuwa. However, not long after, whoosh! An endless gust of gloomy wind accompanied by pitch-black clouds swept toward him, exuding a fierce, brutal, and terrifying aura, immediately giving him a bad premonition. He formed hand seals, and a bright purple light enveloped him in a shining armor of thunder. Boom! From within the black mists, a colossal figure with a bull's head and a human body emerged out of thin air, massive like a hill. Its serpentine muscles were etched with terrifying dark runes, while its blood-red eyes and two horns focused ominously on the purple-robed elder. As soon as this figure appeared, it gazed at the purple-robed elder, its glow terrifying, as if it could shatter souls. Its massive arms lashed out like dragons winding up from the ground, exuding a towering presence, and struck out with force enough to set off waves of destruction, the air itself exploding layer by layer. A third-rank corpse king. No, this is bad. The purple-robed elder's eyes contracted at the sight of the corpse king barreling towards him, and he immediately realized the terrible situation. He had been lured into a trap. The other party had deliberately drawn him out to ambush and kill him. How does Xiahou Wuwa have a third-rank corpse king, and that too an earth-grade bloodline monster beast, the Kangmang ox? Could it be? The purple-robed elder had a sudden suspicion, but without daring to ponder further or hesitate, he quickly formed hand seals, positioning the heavenly thunder bead above his head, unleashing a torrent of tumultuous purple lightning, like a vast ocean, into a web of thunder. Boom! 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 The shadowy light of the massive fist landed amid the mountains, causing a series of deafening explosions, with lightning scattering in all directions, triggering endless aftershocks that turned the surrounding trees and rocks to dust, leaving scorched earth. The miasma spread while the mighty fist, carrying unspeakable force, continued pounding towards the purple-robed elder. Damn it! It's a dark demon corpse from the heavenly corpse sect. The purple-robed elder's face was extremely grim, He poured his mana wildly into the heavenly thunder bead and took out several talismans from his bosom, desperate to fight his way out and escape. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 779. 30 Years of Hard Work. Xiahou Wuo strikes. However, Xiahou Wuo was well prepared. He suddenly appeared behind the man in the purple robe, his expression icy, holding a black great axe, with dark spiritual light surging from it. He chopped down, blocking any escape. Boom! Xia the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Caught in a pincer attack, the black ghostly light engulfed the purple lightning, causing a massive explosion in the sky. A moment later, the figure of the man in the purple robe was faintly visible within the black light. His hair and beard were disheveled, his face pale and tinged with black. His lightning armor was tattered and worn. He looked very ragged. Kill! Xiahou Wuo's face was ashen and stiff, his voice resonating like the clash of metal, giving the man in the purple robe no chance to catch his breath, continuing the assault alongside the dark demon corpse. Faced with such an attack from both a person and a corpse, the man in the purple robe had no means of defense or blockage, and within a few exchanges, he was smashed into pulp by the dark demon corpse's fists. Qing Yun's sect. Xiahou Wuo's expression was grim, his eyes glowing crimson as he collected the body before him. Go to. He then, together with the dark demon corpse, flew directly towards the stronghold. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. During this time, Lu Changsheng's wives had become pregnant again, and a child with a 4th-grade spiritual root was born. Unknowingly, my Lu family is now also brimming with geniuses. Lu Chongqing held the newborn baby, feeling emotional in his heart. Since awakening the memories of his past life at Qingyun sect and activating the system, exactly 30 years have gone by. Through 30 years of effort, he now had a total of 178 children. 49 of these children had spiritual roots. Among these 49 children, there was 1 with a 2nd-grade spiritual root, 1 with a 3rd grade, 3 with 4th grade, 5 with 5th grade, and 5 with 6th grade. Moreover, there were 3 with spiritual bodies. Such talented descendants, when compared to any cultivation family in the surrounding area, were enough to be proud of. What's more, all these children were from him alone. Once these children grew up, such deeds were likely to be recorded in the history of Jiang country's cultivation realm. 30 years have passed in glory. I've achieved a small measure of success. Lu Chongqing was quite satisfied with his accomplishments over the past 30 years. The only thing he was slightly less satisfied with was that his most talented daughter was not at home and he, as a father, had not yet met her. But there are 49 already. I estimate it won't be long before the system hands out another child money. I wonder if the system will give any surprises. Lu Chongqing murmured to himself, roughly grasping some patterns of the system's child money. After a brief visit with his children and spending some time with his wives, Lu Chongqing returned to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. At this time, Lu Miaoge was treating Ling Zixio's meridians and dantian. Thank you, Miaoge. A moment after the treatment finished, Ling Zixiao sat up and softly thanked her. She then turned to Lu Chongqing and said, My lord, my meridians and dantian are now in a condition where I can attempt cultivation. He. Congratulations, Zixiao. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongqing laughed. Over the course of the year, both he and Lu Miaoge had done their best to treat Ling Zixiao, and she had shown significant improvements. Her graceful features were no longer ashen and lacking color as before, but had become much more rosy. Congratulations, Sister Ling. Lu Miaoge also sounded her congratulations. She knew that Ling Zixiao, due to her dragon roar physique, had withered meridians and dantian, and had been unable to cultivate. Otherwise, with her spiritual root talent, her cultivation level would probably have already reached the middle stage of foundation establishment, if not the later stages. Here are the 12 celestial demon techniques. Zishao, you can take a look and see which one suits you best. If you encounter any problems during the process, just come and ask me. Lu Chongqing took out the cultivation techniques he had prepared earlier and handed them to Ling Zishao. Thank you, my lord. Ling Zishao graciously accepted the techniques, smiling lightly. She had long anticipated the day when her meridians and dantian would be restored. But perhaps because she had watched them gradually improve day by day, now that they were almost fully recovered, her heart had calmed down. Zishao, once you start cultivating, the problem with the dragon roar physique will likely reoccur, so you'll need to be very careful and cautious. If there's any issue, remember to tell me right away. Lu Chongqing continued, speaking earnestly. The origin source of Ling Zixio's dragon roar physique had been plundered by him using the dragon invocation technique, thereby entering a dormant state. But once she began cultivating, the issue with the spiritual body would reemerge, causing the yang energy to scorch her meridians and dantian. Do not worry, my lord. I understand, Ling Zishao replied with a warm smile, feeling a surge of warmth in her heart. In the following days, Ling Zishao tried to switch to a new cultivation method to see which of the Vermilion Bird Sky-Scorching Art, the Thunder Fire 9 Arts, and the 12 Celestial Demon Techniques was more compatible with her. However, during the daytime when she had time, she would still go to Bai Shui Lake to construct the oceanic formation. After all, this oceanic formation mainly used the 36 oceanic orbs to nourish the spirit vein. Once the spirit vein beneath Bai Shui Lake advanced to the second rank, it could not only connect with the water vein of Bai Yun Peak Spirit Vein, but also upgrade the overall spiritual energy of Bai Lake Mountain. Lu Changsheng's plan for the spiritual beasts breeding farm could also begin by dividing an area in Bai Shui Lake for raising aquatic demon beasts. The stars and moon were without light, and the night was dark as ink. Outside Bai Lake Mountain, a figure cloaked in a black cloak appeared. His face was ashen and stiff, and within the hood, a pair of eyes glowed with a frightening crimson sheen, making them extremely intimidating against the night sky. Bai Lake Mountain, Xiahou Wuo gazed into the distance at Bai Lake Mountain shrouded in blue misty waters in the night, his eyes glowing with an intimidating sheen. A second-tier top-level formation, a second-rank array master, really quite impressive. It's no wonder that Wu Su fell here in the past. However, even with your third-rank great formation, you cannot escape tonight's calamity. Xiahou Wuo's eyes were filled with killing intent. He turned into a divine rainbow and instantly appeared at the summit of Bai Lake Mountain. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 780, 30 Years of Hard Work, Xiahou Wuo Strikes. _4 He slapped his storage bag, and one bronze ancient steel after another appeared. A total of 18 steels dropped down, surrounding Bai Lake Mountain on all sides. As these steels landed, Xiahou Wuo activated them, immediately erupting with gray pillars of light that coiled around the exterior of Bai Lake Mountain. The energy connected like a layer of gray chaos enveloping the entire Bai Lake Mountain. What's going on? The Lu family disciples, not only guarding the mountain gate of Bai Lake Mountain, but also patrolling as sentinels, were always vigilant of their surroundings. Seeing this scene, they immediately realized something was wrong, activated the formation, took out communication talisman, and relayed the message to Bai Yun Peak. At the same time, in the sky above Bai Lake Mountain, a black staff appeared in Xiahou Wuo's hands. He tossed the staff into the air, where it continuously split into hundreds of staffs. SEA the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The gray chaos that emerged from the ancient steels like mist permeated these staffs, aiming a bombardment at the Great Formation. Boom, go to, ko for a moment. The Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation erupted with a violent noise, flickering uncertainly under the night sky. Many cultivators, whether in sleep or meditation, were suddenly jolted awake, their mental spirits trembling. What's happening? Inside Chongqing Hall of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, Lu Chongqing, Ling Zishao, and Lu Miaoge were among those who were immediately awakened. realizing that something was amiss. They quickly left their dwellings and went to Baiyun Peak, looking toward the exterior of the formation at Xiahou, who was cloaked in a black cloak. "Who are you?" Lu Chongqing locked eyes with Xiahou, his expression slightly tense as he spoke in a deep voice. He could not ascertain Xiahou's cultivation level, but given the current situation, he immediately realized that the enemy was no simple foe. He directly transmitted a question to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. "Mount Sumeru, Master, this person's cultivation level should be at the false core." The ethereal and pure voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King echoed in Lu Changsheng's mind. "Zishao, activate the Mount Sumeru Illusion Sky Great Formation." Once Lu Chongqing heard this, he immediately transmitted the command to Ling Zishao. They prepared to directly operate the Great Formation to confront the enemy and suppress him into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. "He, who am I? You rely on the power of the formation to kill my family's younger brother. So who do you think I am? Tonight, I will make your entire by Lake Mountain pay for my brother's burial." Xiahou's voice rang out, clanging and raspy, extremely grating. Amid his words, hundreds, if not thousands, of staffs attacked the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation. These staffs were all enveloped in a layer of gray aura, striking at the formation, causing ripples that made the blue mist of the Bai water, heavenly blue Great Formation dissipate, revealing glimpses of Bai Lake Mountain. Clearly, this gray aura was a kind of treasure specifically for breaking magical formations. Xiahou, Lu Chongqing, Ling Zishao, and Lu Miaoge, having heard this, guessed the identity of this person. With such strength and seeking to avenge a brother, aside from the currently concealed Xiahou, there could be no other. "Heaven's path you did not take. Hell's gate you enter by your own choosing. Since you've come, there's no need to leave." Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a chill. The enemy had been hiding all this time, and he had been thinking about finding trouble with the enemy to avenge Ling Zishao. Yet for so many years, there had been no news of the foe. Unexpectedly, they finally had him coming to their doorstep. Whoosh! At this moment, Ling Zishao manipulated the array plate. The Mount Sumeru Tree King's body glowed with a crystal sheen, and strands of divine light spilled out, lending a golden gleam to the Bai water heavenly blue Great Formation, which flickered in the uncertain light. The gold and blue light merged, making the Great Formation's energy inscrutable. A hazy, imperceptible mist appeared, slowly enveloping Xiahou. "Hee. I'd like to see what ability you have to claim your revenge." Decked in a green magical robe, Lu Chongqing rose to the sky, stood with his hands behind his back, and coldly spoke to Xiahou beneath the night sky. "Arrogant fool, courting death." Xiahou, seeing Lu Chongqing learn his identity, yet still daring to be so bold and not taking him seriously, rebuked coldly. Amidst his words, a black great axe appeared in his hand, ready to slash down toward Bai Lake Mountain. But the next moment, he saw a hazy black mist emerge. The surrounding scenery suddenly transformed from the exterior of Bai Lake Mountain to a place shrouded in a vague and chaotic mist from all directions. With his axe, he cleaved through the endless murky gray fog, but it had no effect on this world. "What's going on?" Xiahou's eyes showed a look of shock and uncertainty. He realized he had fallen into a formation, but he couldn't immediately identify the flaw in the formation. "I've clearly set up the spirit-suppressing ancient steel, which should weaken the operation of the formation. This Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation is only a second-tier top-level formation, so how could it have such an effect?" Xiahou's face was ashen, his eyes flecked with crimson. Without giving it much thought, he slapped the Corpse bag at his waist and released his greatest reliance. Suddenly, hoo! A gust of wind howled. An endless black fog billowed, filling the space with a terrifying and intimidating energy. However, at that moment he felt the world spinning around him. The scene before his eyes changed once more, like an illusion of flowers in the mirror and the moon in the water. The surroundings were still shrouded in haze, but in front of him he saw a palace, a pond, a table and chairs, and a woman with red hair dressed in red. Boom! Before he could understand what was happening, he suddenly felt a terrifying force of heaven and earth descending upon him, making his body sink. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him, trapping him in a mire, rendering him unable to move in the slightest. In his dantian, the false core also fell silent, unable to use even a fraction of his mana. How is this possible? Xiahou Wuo immediately turned pale with fright. His eyes were filled with terror, although he was only a false core immortal. But a false core immortal is still an immortal, a being that those at the Foundation establishment level look up to. Yet now, without even understanding what was happening, he was directly suppressed without the slightest ability to resist. Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, he heard terrifying roars and the chilling energy that accompanied them. He knew it was his greatest reliance, the dark demon corpse. But in just a moment he saw his dark demon corpse, like him, trapped in the void. The corpse energy was restrained. The ghastly black runes on its musculature, like those of a dragon, gradually grew dim. The two crimson eyes and bull horns flickered uncertainly, as if falling into a deep sleep. This. Xiahou Wuo's eyes showed terror, and he couldn't understand what was happening. He felt as if he were dreaming. He was just there to annihilate a small Foundation establishment family. But what was this nightmare? Not only was he suppressed in an instant, his dark demon corpse, a third-rank corpse king, was also suppressed in an instant. This. If his mind were not clear, he would have thought he had stumbled into Qingyun sect. Xiahou Wuo was a picture of horror and confusion, not knowing what was happening. The next moment, he saw ripples appear before him. 3 figures appeared, 1 male and 2 females. It was Lu Chongsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Ling Zixiao, whom he had seen before. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 781. The Tactics of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, an Unprecedented Harvest. _1 Lu Chongsheng, Ling Zixiao. Xiahou Wuo gazed at the trio of Lu Chongsheng, Ling Zixiao, and Lu Miaoge, his expression somewhat bewildered. Sir, the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If he had previously thought he was trapped in some illusion formation, blinded in his spirit sense, then now, with the appearance of Lu Chongsheng and the others, he clearly realized that this was not an illusion. He was in a completely different space. Is this a cave heaven treasure? That hazy black fog just now, it was someone activating a cave heaven treasure. But a cave heaven treasure could never have such power. Xiahou Wuo had his suspicions but still found it hard to believe, uncertain of the situation. After all, even a golden core true person visiting personally would not be able to suppress him and the dark demon corpse so effortlessly. Xiahou Wuo, Lu Chongsheng, donning a green robe, with handsome features and a calm demeanor, looked towards Xiahou Wuo, whose complexion was ashen and stiff, his expression filled with terror. Go to. Although he had known before about the power of his family's formation and Mount Sumer's strength, it was only at this moment that he had a clear realization. After all, the Xiahou Wuo in front of him was a false core immortal, whose power was incredibly fearsome. When he had traveled to Zhouxiao Immortal City aboard the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel, he witnessed the pursuit of Qingyun's true inheritor, Chu Qingyi, by this man, and his battle with Qiyun True Immortal. Even Qiyun True Immortal, also a false core, was no match for the current Xiahou Wuo. Yet here and now, such a formidable being was effortlessly suppressed by his family's great formation and Mount Sumeru Tree King, reduced to a prisoner at their feet. However, his attention was immediately drawn to the dark demon corpse beside him, imposing as a small hill. Although this corpse king was suppressed by Mount Sumeru and could not move a muscle, he could still sense a terrifying aura from it that left souls trembling. Xiahou Wuo, Lu, have been waiting for you for quite some time now. Have you thought about how you wish to die? Lu Chongsheng looked at Xiahou Wuo, standing with his hands behind his back, his tone serene, speaking lightly. Lu Chongsheng, who exactly are you? The voice of Xiahou Wuo was hoarse and grating. Though his mana was completely suppressed and sealed, he could still tell that Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao had foundation establishment cultivation levels. As for Lu Chongsheng, though his cultivation aura was obscured like a mist, he had gathered some basic understanding of By Lake Mountain before coming here. He knew that By Lake Mountain's master, Lu Chongsheng, was at the early stage of foundation establishment. Because he was skilled in talisman formation and cultivated with his wife, Lu Miaoge, in some kind of dual cultivation technique, their combined strength was almost comparable to the peak of foundation establishment. But right now, he realized that the Lu Chongsheng in front of him was definitely not that simple. This man held a great secret, inscrutable. The information he had acquired was merely what Lu Chongsheng had let the outside world know. If that's all you have for your last words, then you may go ahead and die, Lu Chongsheng said softly. He, as a cultivator of the righteous path, naturally stood in opposition to the demonic path. If there was still a shred of kindness, he would be willing to offer an opportunity for redemption. But for a demonic path thief like Xiahou Wuwa, who was utterly vile and guilty of grave offenses, there was obviously nothing more to say. Abyssal ghoul blossom, Lu Chongsheng called out. And so, next to the fountain of spirit, an exceedingly beautiful and enchanting dark red flower swayed gently, its bud ready to bloom, exuding a captivating luster. Accompanying the swaying, roots covered in dark red thorns emerged from the ground, stretching out towards Xiahou Wuwa, tainting the air with a hint of blood. This gorgeous and enthralling flower was the abyssal ghoul blossom that Lu Chongsheng had won from a system lottery. Uncertain if the abyssal ghoul blossom required a spirit vein, upon learning that the Mount Sumeru Tree King could transplant the spirit plants out of the cave heaven, Lu Chongsheng temporarily planted this abyssal ghoul blossom within the Mount Sumeru cave heaven. After planting it, Lu Chongsheng also gained a detailed understanding of this abyssal ghoul blossom. Indeed, the abyssal ghoul blossom could grow without a spirit vein, feeding only on flesh, blood, and souls. However, this method required a large amount of flesh and souls. Feeding it with demon beasts would be a significant expense. Therefore, wherever possible, it was still better to plant it atop a spirit vein, which would also accelerate its growth. Beyond that, after planting this abyssal ghoul blossom, Lu Chongsheng also understood its abilities in detail. Its belly harbored a prison that could contain living beings. This imprisonment couldn't be applied to beings far stronger than itself, and there was a limit to the number of beings it could hold. But this cage could refine beings and, through their souls, obtain fragments of their memories. This was somewhat similar to the soul-searching technique used in demonic path methods. So now, with Xiahou Wuwa readily arriving at his doorstep, Lu Chongsheng naturally wasn't going to be courteous, choosing instead to feed him to the flower to test out the effectiveness of the abyssal ghoul blossom's abilities. What are you doing? You actually have such demonic path methods. The roots spreading from the abyssal ghoul blossom pierced into Xiahou Wuo's flesh and blood, dragging him in front of the flower bud. At this moment, the bud no longer appeared beautiful and enticing, but rather eerie and terrifying. It resembled a gaping abyss, with pistils like tentacles revealing a yearning for flesh. It enveloped and slowly drew him in. No! Xiahou Wuo could feel a power seeping into his flesh, corrupting his flesh, bones, and mana. But at this time, his own mana was completely suppressed and sealed by the Mount Sumeru Tree King. He was utterly powerless to resist. No, I am not resigned to this. I still have family feuds and clan grievances, must seek revenge against Qingyun's sect, and must restore the glory of the Xiahou family. Xiahou Wuo's ashen face twisted viciously, his crimson eyes filled with unwillingness, roaring hoarsely. For his objectives, he had been unscrupulous, even willing to submit to the demon race and become a lapdog to demons. But now, just as he began to glimpse hope, he was inexplicably dying at the hands of a minor foundation establishment family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 782. The Tactics of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. An unprecedented harvest. He didn't even know how he died, how he had fallen. He wanted to roar and struggle, but he couldn't move an inch. His consciousness grew more and more blurry, and it felt like he was sinking into darkness. As the abyssal ghoul blossom completely devoured Xiahou Wua, its roots disappeared, reverting to its original appearance. Beautiful, enchanting, and flawless. No one would have suspected the horror that had just occurred. The dark demon corpse that was as huge as a small mountain also seemed to have its runes dimmed considerably. Its flickering bull horns and eyes appeared to be extinguished and turned a grayish-black color. This, Lu Miaoge, Ling Zixiao, and Su Ruyan, who was not far away, witnessed this scene with surprise and suspicion, their minds in turmoil. On one hand, they felt the abyssal ghoul blossom's methods were somewhat reminiscent of the sinister demon path. On the other, they were shocked to see a false core immortal being subdued and devoured in such a manner. It was hard to believe. After all, for them, a false core immortal was an exalted existence that was looked up to in their everyday lives. These methods do seem a bit demonic. Go to. Upon seeing this scene, Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly, mumbling to himself. If the abyssal ghoul blossom's methods were seen by others, it would undoubtedly be deemed demonic. However, now that Xiahou Wua is dead, I can go to you country's Jinyang sect with peace of mind. Lu Chongqing exhaled softly. Although the Mount Sumeru Tree King stood guard at home, making him unafraid of attacks, he would still feel somewhat uneasy as long as the other wasn't dead. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, magical treasures, spiritual artifacts, storage bags, and storage rings were expelled by the abyssal ghoul blossom. The abyssal ghoul blossom not only fed on flesh, blood, and souls. The remains of dead beings, and even spirit plants and spiritual materials, could be its food. Even these magical treasures and spiritual artifacts could be corroded by it, turned into energy. But of course, Lu Chongqing would not let it refine these items. Zi Xiao, Sister Miaoge. Time to clean up the loot. Lu Chongqing chuckled softly, speaking to Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao in a gentle voice. Okay. Upon hearing his words, both women replied softly, not commenting further on the abyssal ghoul blossom. Ling Zixiao, who was currently studying the 12 capital demon gods technique, didn't care about such demonic methods at all. While Lu Miaoge thought it seemed rather peculiar and wicked, she wouldn't say anything about it. However, Su Ruyan couldn't help but swallow hard, not expecting the demon plant to be so dreadful. Being a practitioner of the beast technique, she was very sensitive to the aura of demon beasts. The aura of the abyssal ghoul blossom earlier had given her palpitations. Huh! So many spirit stones? And 2 magical treasures? Opening a storage ring and breaking its seals, Lu Chongqing was pleasantly surprised to find not only a pile of spirit stones and heavenly materials and earthly treasures, but also 2 magical treasures. One was a purple thunder bead the size of a fist. Another was a fiery red, jade-like sharp little sword. He took out the 2 treasures to inspect, and it seemed they were both life-bound magical treasures. Spiritual Origin Pearl, Foundation Establishment Elixir, Core Formation Spiritual Object. So many spiritual ores, demon beast materials. Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao, examining a few storage bags, also cried out in surprise. They were somewhat astonished. Ia the Novel Fire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Because Xiahou Wua was indeed too wealthy, not fitting the profile of a false core immortal at all. My lord, Xiahou Wua had just set up a magic artifact outside by Lake Mountain to interfere with the Great Formations operation. Your concubine needs to check on it. At that moment, sensing something, Ling Zixiao spoke up. I'll go with you, and we need to briefly reassure everyone after what just happened. Lu Chongqing nodded in agreement. The recent assault on by Lake Mountain by Xiahou Wua, although brief, had caused quite a commotion. As the mountain master, it was only natural for him to calm the situation. Afterward, the 2 of them stepped out of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. My lord, mountain master, father, daddy. At the foot of Baiyun Peak, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Yun, Lu Pingon, and others rushed forward with questions upon seeing Lu Chongshang and Ling Zixiao. Heh! It was just a robber cultivator who came to cause trouble. But it's been dealt with. Lu Chongqing didn't elaborate much. although the news of killing Xiahou Wuwa could be used to intimidate others to a certain extent, and he could even claim a hefty bounty from Qingyun's sect. Once the news got out, explaining and justifying it would become difficult, and continuing to live discreetly would no longer be an option. So, without a second thought, he fed the corpse to the abyssal ghoul blossom. After simply reassuring everyone that the robber cultivator had been destroyed by the family's great formation and ordering the guard to stand down, Lu Chongsheng and Ling Zixiao headed outside by Lake Mountain. This must be some kind of formation path magic artifact. Ling Zixiao examined the spirit-restricting steel, softly saying so. Then, along with Lu Chongsheng, they tried to collect the 18 ancient steels. Now that Xiahou Wuwa was dead, it was easy for them to gather these steels. After finishing up, the two returned into the Mount Sumeru cave heaven to continue sorting through the spoils of battle. Such rich spoils made all three of them deeply moved. Just then, Lu Chongsheng received a ripple from the abyssal ghoul blossom. It signified that the memory fragments of Xiahou Wuwa had been extracted. Raising his eyebrows, he moved beside the seductively beautiful blossom, laying his palm on the flower. Immediately, a series of broken and disjointed images began to unfold before his eyes. The memories were extremely chaotic, making it quite challenging to sort through the useful information, and it vastly drained his mental spirit. It's rumored that the Xiahou family are the covert descendants of the Heavenly Corpse sect in Jin Kingdom, so Ancestor Xiahou was once a disciple of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Back then, realizing that Qingyun's sect was targeting them, the Xiahou family had sent a portion of their core descendants to Yu country. Xiahou Wushang. Tisk, TSKS. I didn't expect Xiahou Wuwa to actually take part in the Beast Tide in Imperial Spirit Sect's domain. Becoming a traitor. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 783. The Tactics of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. An Unprecedented Harvest. Third rank Corpse King, the Dark Demon Corpse. No wonder Xiahou Wuwa was so wealthy. He had plundered and looted several strongholds of Qingyun's sect, Spirit Taming sect, Wuxia sect. Lu Chongsheng gathered a plethora of information from Xiahou Wuwa's memory fragments through the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Yet the messages were too cluttered, and despite his divine sense reaching the pinnacle of Foundation establishment, he found it somewhat exhausting to sift through them. He stopped browsing the memories, planning to sort them out later when he had spare time, to see if he could extract more useful information from Xiahou Wuo's memories. At this point, Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao also roughly sorted out the spoils of war. 13 superior grade spirit stones. 948 middle-grade spirit stones, 79,611 lower-grade spirit stones, 3 lower-grade magical treasures, 1 magical treasure embryo, 3 top-quality spiritual artifacts, 2 superior-grade spiritual artifacts, 5 middle-grade spiritual artifacts, 9 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, and a pile of magic artifacts. Go to. Besides spirit stones and magical treasures, there was also 1 core formation spiritual object, 1 genuine foundation establishment elixir, 1 spiritual origin pearl, 4 foundation establishment spirit objects, 3rd rank spiritual wood. As for other spiritual objects, spiritual mines, spiritual medicine, and demon beast corpses, there was a huge pile. Faced with such a bountiful harvest, even Lu Chongsheng found it difficult to appraise. Because for items like magical treasures and some 3rd rank materials and spiritual objects, it is hard to measure their value with spirit stones. Such high-level items mostly involve barter trade, not simply sold for spirit stones. Previously, when Lu Chongsheng had attended the auction at the Qingyun market, a magical treasure was auctioned for the high price of 330,000 spirit stones. However, this kind of price offers little reference value. Regardless, tonight's haul was unprecedented for Lu Chongsheng, exceeding the value of 1 million spirit stones. With the gain from tonight, it would be enough for him to sit back and live off the wealth of by Lake Mountain for nearly a decade. Indeed, the quickest way to wealth is through the generous support of kind souls. If I had to rely on talisman making and alchemy, even if I worked from dawn till dusk, I don't know how long it would take. Lu Chongqing voiced his thoughts aloud. Even though he was accustomed to grand scenes due to the system, the staggering bounty still excited him. Especially the 3 magical treasures and 1 magical treasure embryo. Although these magical treasures and the embryo, being the life-bound magic treasure of others, were not convenient to sell and would have significantly reduced power and efficacy if used, they were perfect for practicing the 100 Refinements treasure body art. By now, Pingon has mastered the initial stage of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, breaking through the first layer. With these 3 magical treasures and 1 magical treasure embryo, I can give 1 to him to try incorporating into his body for practice. Then I can select 2 more from the family with a talent for body refinement to teach the treasure body technique. Lu Chongqing mused internally, planning to have his children practice with these 3 magical treasures and the embryo. After all, for his children to cultivate, making dual use of a single magical treasure is the most cost-effective method. For himself as a father, that was about enough. Lu Miaoge and Ling Zixiao too were so stunned by the astonishing harvest that they felt as if they were dreaming. After all, the number of spirit stones and the heaven and earth spiritual materials were too vast, too overwhelming. This night would be a sleepless one for the 3 of them. Not just for them, but for most of the people at By Lake Mountain. Tonight was also a sleepless night. After all, Xiahou Wuo's previous momentum and formation clearly belonged to no ordinary cultivator. He was probably a great cultivator in the late stage of foundation establishment. Yet such an existence was suppressed by Lake Mountain within moments, which was astonishing. You country, the Xiahou family of South Wind Ridge. This was a small foundation establishment family clan that had someone break through to foundation establishment a few years ago. The family's elder led people to clear and establish the family clan here thereafter. The location was very remote, not only close to the Myriad Beasts mountain range but also surrounded by many poisonous miasmas. A middle-aged man around 40, with graying hair and clad in a white brocade robe, was organizing the family's land veins through a formation. Just then, he suddenly sensed something and stiffened instantly. His face turned pale, and his arms trembled slightly as he took a jade token out of his storage bag. The jade token was full of cracks. Then, with a bang, it exploded into a dust of jade. Big brother! Xiahou Wushang looked at the jade token in his hand, his complexion drastically changing as if struck by a bolt from the blue. He staggered, calling out in sorrow. Back when the Xiahou family of Blackwater was obliterated, the 3 brothers escaped with the core disciples and went into hiding. Elder brother Xiahou Wuo ventured to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, accumulating strength in secret by hunting demon beasts. Second brother Xiahou Wushu continued to cause chaos in Jiang country, earning resources through looting. As for himself, he led the family's core to Yu country, hiding their names and clandestinely growing their strength. But now, merely 10 years later, just as his side of the family had begun to settle down, first came the death of second brother Xiahou Wushu, and now tragic news of elder brother Xiahou Wuo. Big brother! Xiahou Wushang's face was filled with grief, his fists clenched tightly. He didn't allow himself to grieve for long. Suddenly raising his head, his expression was resolute. He knew that now he must be the one to hold up the family. Now that big brother has perished abroad, the family's vengeance seems hopeless. The cultivation technique of the Xiahou family must no longer be practiced. Otherwise, if any mishap occurs, our Xiahou family will be utterly eradicated. We cannot carry on here either and must abandon this place, or else it might invite trouble. Xiahou Wushang murmured to himself. He had chosen this place as the family's spirit land because it was unclaimed. Additionally, it was suitable for corpse refining and for practicing the Xiahou family's cultivation techniques. But now, with the death of elder brother Xiahou Wuo, he knew their chances for revenge were almost hopeless. What he needed to do now was ensure the family's survival. And to do that, the Xiahou family's cultivation techniques must indeed be abandoned. They had to completely disguise themselves and start anew. CTH Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After spending nearly half a month, Lu Chongqing obtained many important pieces of information from Xiahou Wuo's fragmented memories. For example, Xiahou Wuwa had a brother in the Foundation establishment late stage, called Xiahou Wushang, who was lurking in Yu country. Xiahou Wuwa chose to betray humankind because many demon kings in the Myriad Beasts mountain range had reached some sort of clandestine agreement. As for what that agreement was, even Xiahou Wuwa was not clear. Then, there was a corpse refining stronghold Xiahou Wuwa had in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. The Dark Demon Corpse was created by Xiahou Wuwa using a third-rank demon king called Kangmeng Ox. However, this Dark Demon Corpse had a defect. It was difficult to control and prone to backlash. To prevent the corpse from turning on its master, it needed constant feeding with fresh blood. That's why he attacked many family strongholds, not just to plunder resources but also to feed the corpse. From the other's memories, Lu Chongqing also obtained the heritage of the Xiahou family, Heavenly Corpse Refinement Technique. However, this technique could only be cultivated up to the initial stage of core formation. Aside from the technique, there was also a third-rank corpse refining heritage. From ritualizing ordinary walking corpses to iron corpses, copper corpses, silver corpses, and so on. Each of these corpses had their corresponding progression pathways, such as Dark Demon Corpse, Golden Armor Zombie, Flying Yuxia, Bone-Dissolving Blood Corpse, and so on. Lu Chongqing, however, wasn't particularly interested in this technique or the corpse refining heritage. After a quick look, he found that the conditions for refining these corpses were too heinous. For example, the Dark Demon Corpse was very likely to turn on its master, requiring a large intake of blood periodically. The bone-dissolving blood corpse not only needed to consume blood, but also required the use of close relatives' corpses for refining to avoid backlash. Really, the more powerful the corpse refining, the more evil the methods. I wonder if that endless guileful head I drew from the system will be the same? Lu Chongqing thought of the endless guileful head he had won from the system. According to the system's description, this endless guileful head was quite formidable, one of the corpse deception sect's top corpse fiends. Should I take that thing out to have a look? Anyway, with Mount Sumeru at hand, it can't create any commotion. And from the system's products, there should be an acknowledgement of the master, so it won't exhibit any man-eating behavior. Lu Chongqing mused for a moment. Thinking of extracting the endless guileful head, he drew as a prize from the system. Otherwise, if left in the system space at home, it might just collect dust forever. Extract. Lu Chongqing looked at the endless guileful head in the system space, his mental spirit stirring slightly. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 784. Core Formation Law Domain. Corpse Charm manipulates the corpse charm. Extra 1 inch hoo. In an instant, a head with a black, rigid face, ink-black eyes with no whites, disheveled hair, and a ferocious and terrifying appearance materialized. Holy shit! Even though Lu Chongqing had seen quite a few spectacles, the sight of the endless guileful head still caused his heart to skip a beat, sending shivers down his spine. This head was not only ferocious and terrifying. Its pitch-black face resembled a horse's, elongated like pulled dough, bizarre and unsettling. The two eyes were like swirling black holes, drawing in the mental spirit, intimidating the soul. The endless guileful head, truly sinister. The information about this third-rank refined corpse came into Lu Chongqing's mind. The endless guileful head with early third-rank strength. Its divine skills were strange and unpredictable, mainly focusing on illusions, capable of creating a ghost domain. Within the ghost domain, only nascent soul immortals could contend. For chi refinement, foundation establishment cultivators, and demon beasts, once they entered the ghost domain, they would be on a one-way path to death. Moreover, under the prolonged erosion of the ghost domain, these beings would be refined into ghost slaves by the endless guileful head. The so-called ghost slaves were a kind of puppet, a Tao soldier. By then, once the ghost domain spread out, the endless guileful head would have many fearless ghost slaves, and its overall strength would continue to rise. Ghost domain. Lu Chongqing looked at the effects of the endless guileful head's ghost domain, his eyes narrowing slightly as he muttered to himself. Initially, Honglian mentioned that within a nascent soul immortal's body, mana converges to a high degree, vaguely forming a certain domain around them, referred to as the core formation law domain. This law domain may not have much effect on cultivators of the same level, but for chi refinement and foundation establishment cultivators, it is an absolute crush. The reason a false core immortal is far inferior to a nascent soul immortal lies not only in the inability to progress in cultivation level but also in the inability to form a law domain, which even allows them to be challenged and surrounded by foundation establishment cultivators. This ghost domain must be similar to a nascent soul immortal's law domain. Lu Chongqing pondered silently. Having never seen a nascent soul immortal make a move, he was always curious if his current strength could overcome core formation. Thus, he had deliberately asked Hong Lian about this issue. Hong Lian told him once a cultivator broke through to core formation, they could form a law domain. This law domain had no effect on cultivators of the same stage. But for those of lower stages, it was an absolute crush. Lu Chongqing, by using a talisman formation and third-rank talisman, could catch a nascent soul cultivator by surprise and even hope to kill them. However, in a direct confrontation, once the opponent's core formation law domain unfolded, his own mana would become difficult to execute. At that time, even with a myriad of techniques, he would be unable to deploy them and stand no chance against core formation. Therefore, when encountering a nascent soul cultivator, one must never enter the range of their law domain. Otherwise, it would be very dangerous. Ghost domain, ghost slaves. Speaking of which, could the endless guileful head possibly turn Xiahou Wuo's the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave? Lu Changsheng's thoughts paused suddenly. Since he could not control the dark demon corpse, he planned to use it to feed the abyssal ghoul blossom. But the abyssal ghoul blossom was still digesting Xiahou Wuo, so the dark demon corpse was still around for the time being. Now, seeing the abilities of the endless guileful head, he suddenly thought that if it managed to turn the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave, wouldn't its strength greatly increase? However, the endless guileful head can only enslave and refine into ghost slaves those weaker than itself. That the dark demon corpse is also at early third rank, so it might be difficult to refine it into a ghost slave. Lu Changsheng's brow furrowed slightly. The endless guileful head was formidable, but not so monstrous as to turn the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. The dark demon corpse is currently suppressed by Mount Sumeru. It's worth a try. Lu Chongqing rose to his feet, preparing to give it a try and see if it would be feasible. If it worked, it would naturally be for the best. If it didn't, it wouldn't matter. He could continue to feed the abyssal ghoul blossom. Let's go, Lu Chongqing said to the endless guileful head. This endless guileful head had simple awareness. But a product of the system is guaranteed to be fine. The other party directly recognized him as the master, just like pet beasts that could communicate, and there was no possibility of it devouring its master. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, controlling this endless guileful head would constantly erode the mental spirit, thus affecting the temperament. Without a treasure that suppresses the mental spirit, once eroded to a certain extent by the endless guileful head, it would end up being possessed and consumed by it. Although the issues of recognition and consumption by the master were resolved, his current foundation establishment cultivation level meant he couldn't stay for long within the endless guileful head's ghost domain. Otherwise, even as its master, he would be affected by the ghost domain's effects. Hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the ferocious and terrifying head followed by his shoulder, accompanying him. Sar the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. TSK. Why do I feel like I'm becoming more and more like a demonic path cultivator? Lu Chongqing looked at the endless guileful head on his shoulder and couldn't help but shake his head. He felt that if he walked around in the outside world like this, he would definitely be treated as a demonic path cultivator. Arriving outside the Great Hall, looking at the dark demon corpse suspended in midair and imprisoned by Mount Sumeru, Lu Chongqing said to the endless guileful head, "Go ahead. There's another advantage to being in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. That is, whatever you do with Mount Sumeru there's no worry of accidents." Hoo. In the blink of an eye, the endless guileful head soared into the sky, hair wildly fluttering around, its aura becoming dark and frightening. A layer of pitch-black light accompanied by thin wisps of black mist spread out from it as the center, instantly covering the looming, vast form of the dark demon corpse. The entire sky above Mount Sumeru Cave heaven suddenly became shrouded in dark miasma, with chilling winds howling, like the netherworld hell, horrifying and penetrating. This ghost domain looks a bit like a formation space? Lu Chongqing stroked his chin while observing the ghost domain. He then shouted toward Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru. Streams of golden light fell upon Lu Changsheng's body, enveloping him entirely and transforming into golden battle armor. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 785. Core Formation Law Domain. Corpse Charm manipulates the Corpse Charm. Lu Chongqing, clad in golden battle armor that radiated light, entered the domain of the endless guileful head, the ghost domain, to survey the situation. As soon as he entered the ghost domain, he felt the mana within his body become heavy, slightly sluggish. Moreover, here he was unable to sense nature's spiritual energy. So this is the ghost domain, Lu Chongqing muttered to himself as he looked around. Everywhere was shrouded in a gray haze, and black winds howled, transforming into ghostly faces that wailed and sobbed, as if in mourning. The wave of sorrow, pain, panic, fear, loneliness, and despair surged into his heart. Such a terrifying ghost domain. If an ordinary Qi refinement or foundation establishment cultivator were to enter this domain, they wouldn't even need the endless guileful head to act. Slowly, they would lose their minds, their heart demons stirred. Lu Chongqing briefly experienced the impact and power of this ghost domain and was secretly shocked. He knew that within this ghost domain, the illusory divine skills of the endless guileful head could even provoke the heart demons of others. If there was any lapse in mental defense during a confrontation, it would mean a certain death. SAR the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Afterward, Lu Chongqing turned his gaze towards the dark demon corpse shrouded in black mist. This dark demon corpse seemed to still possess some instincts. It sensed that it was being refined into a ghost slave and struggled instinctively. But faced with the dual suppression of Mount Sumeru and the endless guileful head, it was completely powerless to resist. At that moment, the endless guileful head also transmitted its intentions, expressing that it could refine the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. However, once turned into a ghost slave, the strength of the dark demon corpse would diminish, losing its original divine might. And after it was turned into a ghost slave, doing so would also place a certain strain on the endless guileful head itself, limiting the total number of ghost slaves it could enslave in the future. How much will its combat strength decrease? Lu Chongqing inquired of the endless guileful head. It will no longer possess its original divine skills, mostly relying on instinctual combat. The endless guileful head sent back a thought. That's already sufficient. The main combat strength of this dark demon corpse lies in its physical body. Moreover, once within the ghost domain, with the endless guileful head disrupting one's mental spirit, the dark demon corpse can overpower any ordinary nascent soul immortal head-on. They won't stand a chance. Lu Chongqing felt the trade-off was worth it. Most importantly, by having the endless guileful head control the dark demon corpse, this third-rank corpse king would not suffer from backlash, sparing him the effort of nourishment. Having confirmed the situation regarding the endless guileful head and the dark demon corpse, Lu Chongqing stepped out of the ghost domain, and the golden battle armor dissipated from around his body. Upon seeing the beautiful and seductive abyssal ghoul blossom by the spirit spring pond, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly, a look of strangeness crossing his face. How come my path seems to be veering more and more towards the demon path? Lu Chongqing said with a peculiar expression. No, my heart and actions are as clear as a bright mirror. After all, power is neither inherently good nor evil. It is how one uses it, That which is used for goodness is righteous, that which is used for evil is demonic. As someone like me, brimming with positive energy, having saved countless suffering souls, even if I possess some demonic methods, I am still of the righteous path. Lu Chongqing nodded to himself, his expression resolute. At Bai Yun Peak, in the Lu family mansion, Lu Chongqing was spending time with Bai Ling. Now, Bai Ling's cultivation level had reached the pinnacle of the 9th level of energy refinement. With some more time spent polishing her spiritual power until it was round and flawless, she would be ready to attempt foundation establishment. Chongsheng. At that moment, Lu Miaoge sent him a message indicating something was amiss with Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Something's amiss? Lu Changsheng's brows lifted, and after asking Bai Ling to wait for him, he proceeded to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. It was only when he arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven that he realized what Lu Miaoge meant by something's amiss was the ghost domain formed by the endless guileful head. Sister Miaoge, there's no need to worry. I thought that keeping Xiahou Wuo's 3rd-rank Corpse King idle would be a waste, so I used another method to refine and control it, Lu Chongqing explained out loud. Chongqing, refining corpses, methods of the demon path damage the natural order. If it's possible to use them less, it's better to avoid them, Lu Miaoge uttered with pursed lips after hearing him. Although she didn't reject her husband's use of demonic methods, she wasn't completely comfortable with it either. After all, in the Jiang country cultivation realm's portrayal of the demon path, it was considered extremely heinous and harmful to the natural order. Moreover, both the abyssal ghoul blossom and now the endless guileful head presented somewhat sinister and demonic scenes, raising concern that they might influence Lu Chongqing. Should he become affected, it wouldn't just be him at risk, it would be all of Bai Lake Mountain. I understand, Sister Miaoge. Lu Chongqing, knowing that she was concerned for him, took her hand seriously and reassured her. He expressed that he was aware of the implications and asked her not to worry. That night, when Ling Zixiao and Su Ruyan finished setting up the formation and returned from their tasks, they too were shocked to see the ghost domain above Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Su Ruyan, in particular, became even more convinced that Lu Chongqing was not a good person. Is this a core formation law domain? No, this isn't just any law domain. Hong Lian in the ancient beast taming charm also witnessed this scene and sensed that something was amiss. She observed carefully and soon saw the endless guileful head inside, realizing that this ghost domain was even more formidable than a typical core formation law domain. It could even influence nascent soul cultivators to some extent. This is some kind of corpse refining method, where all divine skills and magical powers are converted into a law domain, tremendously powerful, enough to confront cultivators of the same rank. The young master is only at foundation establishment strength. How can he control such corpse refinement? The more Hong Lian observed, the more she was shocked, unable to comprehend how Lu Chongqing managed to wield such a fearsome undead being. Corpse refining was different from beast taming. Spiritual beasts had sentient nature and could be gradually nurtured, tamed from a young age, thus recognizing a master. But corpse refinement entities mostly lacked sentience, having only instinctual awareness. They could be controlled only through various restrictive techniques, and loyalty to a master was virtually non-existent. Especially the more powerful and sinister the reanimated corpse, the truer this was. Not suffering from backlash was already fortunate. To control the strong with the weak was exceedingly difficult. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 786. Core Formation Law Domain. Corpse Charm manipulates the corpse charm. So upon witnessing the situation with the endless guileful head, she was immensely alarmed and couldn't help but speculate more about Lu Changsheng's previous life. Originally, from their years of interactions, she felt that Lu Chongqing surely belonged to the righteous great powers reincarnated for a new phase of cultivation. But at this moment, she believed that Lu Changsheng's former life was probably one of both righteous and demonic cultivation, an existence that was both upright and evil. Definitely not some purely righteous path. Lu Chongqing, of course, had no idea about Hong Lian's speculations. However, Ling Zixio's attitude was similar to that of Lu Miaoge, in the sense that demonic methods could be used, but caution was still needed. With that in mind, Lu Chongqing planned to keep any demonic-oriented rewards he would receive in the future as hidden as possible. Otherwise, having a bunch of demonic rewards at home really wouldn't look too good. Lu Family Mansion. Pingon. How is your progress with the 100 Refinements treasure body art? One day, Lu Chongqing found his son Lu Pingon and came to check on his 100 Refinements treasure body art. Source: web novel. Updated on. Dad. Lu Pingon immediately spoke up, explaining his current cultivation situation. Not bad. After inspecting, Lu Chongqing had a general understanding of his son's level. The compatibility with the cultivation technique was average, and the pace of cultivation was also average. But the key was stability. Steady, methodical practice without any major issues. Refine this magical treasure, and then condense it into your body. Lu Chongqing took out the black great axe belonging to Xiahou Wuwa from his storage bag. Although all 3 magical treasures were of inferior grade, this black great axe was considered the best. Therefore, Lu Chongqing handed it directly to his eldest son for cultivation. A magical treasure? To condense it into my body? Lu Pingon was startled upon hearing this, as if he had misheard. Then, looking at the black great axe in front of him, he was utterly confused and didn't understand what was going on. This is a magical treasure? Lu Pingon looked at the magical treasure before him, utterly baffled. Previously, when Lu Chongqing had given him a badly damaged black dragon magical bead, it had already shocked and confused him. Now, to suddenly produce a seemingly undamaged magical treasure indeed left him at a loss for words. Aren't magical treasures supposed to be items that only nascent soul immortals can utilize? According to the legends, he was just a minor qi refinement cultivator. How could he possess the moral character or capability to use a magical treasure for cultivation? Moreover, his father had already astounded him by producing damaged magical treasures before. So how could he now possess a complete magical treasure? Indeed, this is a magical treasure. Seeing his son's baffled, inexperienced look, Lu Chongqing explained, "Your father has had a little bit of fortune and just happened to acquire a few magical treasures. Now that you've grasped the basics of the 100 Refinements treasure body art, you can attempt to refine this magical treasure and integrate it into your body. Doing so will greatly expedite your progress with the 100 Refinements treasure body art." Lu Chongqing said aloud. A little bit of fortune? Just happened to obtain a few magical treasures? Lu Pingon was totally bewildered. Extremely bewildered. He was no longer the youth who had only a rudimentary understanding of the cultivation world. He clearly understood what a magical treasure signified. But now, these were being described as just a little bit of fortune by his father? Then what constituted a great fortune? Dad, wouldn't this be too wasteful? Lu Pingon came back to his senses and scratched his head, feeling a little reluctant. He thought that selling such a magical treasure for spirit stones or spiritual materials would clearly be more valuable. If I told you to cultivate, then cultivate, what's with all the nonsense? Aren't you always keen on going out for training? Once you've integrated this magical treasure into your body and mastered the Baogu method, which can nurture the treasure bones, I will let you go out. Lu Chongqing spoke to his son. Although Lu Pingon possessed a 5th grade spiritual root, his pace of cultivation was average because he started cultivating late, was sent to the secular world during his childhood, had not been fortified with elixir medicines to establish his foundation, and was pursuing magical dual cultivation. His current cultivation level was at the 5th layer of qi refinement. However, Lu Chongqing knew that his son also harbored a desire to head out. Or rather, his son might still be dwelling on that young girl from his past. As for how to appraise his son's dedication to pure love, Lu Chongqing didn't really know what to say and could only let it be. Thanks, Dad. Lu Pingon smiled, picking up the black great axe to inspect and trying to channel his spiritual power into it. However, the spiritual power entering the magical treasure was like a bucket of water being poured into the sea, without the slightest reaction. Yet, Through the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he could affirm that it truly was a magical treasure. Dad, I feel it might be better to sell this magical treasure. Using it for cultivation seems a bit of a waste. Lu Pingon hesitated, looking at the magical treasure. He felt his father was showing him a bit too much favoritism. Between gifting him a spiritual root and now a magical treasure for cultivation, he truly felt a weighty sense of responsibility. He thought it might be better to sell the magical treasure and convert it into cultivation resources to distribute within the family. Pingon, you should know that a man is not guilty for bearing jade, but he incurs guilt by possessing it. With treasures like magical treasures, once they're sold, they would invite trouble to our family. Therefore, the best approach is to use them for cultivation, to realize their value. Lu Changsheng's words to his son were filled with a mix of helplessness and pride. He continued, furthermore, by utilizing this magical treasure to enhance your strength, you'll be able to contribute back to the family in the future, so there's no such thing as waste. Yes, Dad. Lu Pingon pursed his lips and spoke in a firm tone. CTH Novelfire, any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. He felt a heavy sense of responsibility. All right, start refining it. Your father will watch over you. Lu Chongqing spoke up. Okay. Lu Pingon nodded and began to channel his mental spirit and spiritual power like an invisible fire, beginning to refine the black great axe before him. Lu Chongqing watched by the side. He would let his son refine it on his own each day, as long as there were no issues with his technique, and notify himself when ready to integrate it into his body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 787. Core Formation Law Domain. Corpse Charm manipulates the Corpse Charm. _4 after giving a magical treasure to Lu Pingon for his cultivation of the 100 Refinements treasure body art. Lu Chongsheng considered how to allocate the remaining 2 magical treasures and the magical treasure embryo. Thinking of his daughter Lu Wangshu's talent and comprehension, Lu Chongqing planned to let this daughter try practicing the 100 Refinements treasure body art as well. After all, as long as one could comprehend this cultivation technique, with the condensed magical treasure integrated into the body to assist in cultivation, there would be no need to spend time on it every day, thus not delaying other cultivations. Lu Chongqing soon found his daughter Lu Wangshu, who was fishing. This daughter, having undergone the medicinal bath baptism and broken through to the 2nd level of qi refinement, was now able to go fishing by herself. Although she could not yet fly, she could let the cold blue dark turtle take her out to fish. This made Lu Chongqing somewhat regret why he had given the cold blue dark turtle to his daughter in the first place. However, upon arriving at Bai Shui Lake, Lu Chongqing saw his daughter practicing talisman making while fishing, and he immediately felt a great sense of relief. Daddy! Lu Wangshu was not formally making talismans, but was practicing with ordinary paper and ink. Seeing Lu Chongqing arrive, she immediately called out sweetly. Source, web novel. Com, updated on. Ko Wangshu. How long have you been fishing today? Lu Chongqing asked gently, coming over. Daddy, I've only been here for a little while, she replied, and I feel that practicing talisman making while fishing gives me a better feeling. Lu Wangshu said with a face full of sweetness and cuteness. Hee hee. Lu Chongqing was not at all deceived by her sweet and cute appearance. After all, he had a clear idea of what his little cotton-padded jacket was like after raising her for so many years. He said aloud, Wangshu, Daddy has something good for you? Do you want it? Something good? What is it, Daddy? Upon hearing this, Lu Wangshu immediately became interested. She resembled her mother Xiaoxia, with a delicate oval face, a full and fair forehead, arched eyebrows, and a pair of bright big eyes that seemed to glow with intelligence, vivacious and attractive. Come with Daddy. Lu Chongqing picked up his daughter and brought her back to the Lu family mansion. He then took out a purple thunder bead and expressed that he had a cultivation technique. Once mastered, one would possess immense strength, a body as formidable as magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts. Moreover, once one got through the initial stages of cultivation, one could use this purple thunder bead to assist in cultivation without having to practice hard oneself. Daddy, I want to practice, I want to practice. Lu Wangshu immediately cried out excitedly upon hearing this. Having experienced the joy of a strong physical body after the medicinal bath baptism, she was very interested in this type of body cultivation. Especially knowing that she could cultivate automatically without having to spend time struggling through practice, her interest was piqued even more. Seeing his daughter's interest, what followed was naturally an easy conversation. Lu Chongqing began to teach his daughter the 100 Refinements treasure body art. An hour later, Daddy, I've already memorized it, Lu Wangshu crisply said. Good. Since that's the case, start your cultivation, and Daddy will watch over you, Lu Chongqing said with a warm smile. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Chongqing saw his daughter Lu Wangshu slowly enter the state of cultivation. Tisk! Seeing the speed of his daughter's progress, Lu Chongqing couldn't help but think of his son Lu Pingon. He remembered it took his son an entire day to get into the state, and then it took 3 to 4 days for him to barely get through the threshold, and his cultivation was still fraught with hiccups. It seems the gap between people can sometimes be even greater than that between humans and demon beasts, Lu Chongqing thought to himself. He gained a deeper understanding of his daughter's talent and comprehension. Just like that, he quietly watched his daughter's cultivation. Once she was almost done, he took out a golden essence stone to try absorbing the essence of the material. This step took Lu Wangshu only half a day. In 3 days, Lu Wangshu had fully mastered the basics. She also gained a clear understanding of refining treasure into the body and could attempt to refine magical treasures. However, at the moment, her mental spirit and spiritual power were too weak to refine magical treasures. She would need to be at least in the middle stage of qi refinement. Faced with this situation, Lu Wangshu suddenly found a new drive for her daily cultivation practices. Before, she had been somewhat perfunctory about her daily cultivation. After all, children at that age tended to be playful, and Lu Chongqing didn't want to be too strict. Seeing how his daughter became more diligent in her cultivation because of this matter, he was happy to let her be. After teaching his daughter, he tried to teach his sons, Lu Yun, Lu Chuanjin, and Lu Qingxian, the 100 Refinements treasure body art. But his 3 sons were far from satisfactory, encountering many difficulties in their cultivation, and not quite suitable for it. Faced with this, Lu Chongqing did not insist. He knew that daughters like Lu Wangshu were rare after all, and that he still needed to find children with a talent for body refinement. Immediately, Lu Chongqing, through the system, found another daughter, Lu Qingyan. This daughter was the child of a concubine named Shao Qing, a 6th-grade spiritual root with 41% body refinement talent. She had just completed drawing qi into her body. For this daughter, Lu Chongqing did not teach her right away but decided to observe her temperament first. After all, the cultivation of the treasure body technique must not be as recklessly intense as most body refining techniques, and she was still young, only 12 years old. In the blink of an eye, more than a month passed. During this time, Lu Chongqing spent most of his time accompanying his wives and children, paying attention to the cultivation progress of his children. That day, Lu Chongqing received a letter from Shao Xia. In the letter, Shao Xia informed him that the Qingyun sect had found traces of Xiaohua. The adversary had slain several forces and was likely to come to the Qingyun region. If the adversary came to the Qingyun region, there was a high chance that he would target Bai Lake Mountain over the past affair with Xiaohushu. Even though she knew that Bai Lake Mountain was protected by the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Shao Xia still wrote to warn Lu Chongqing to be extra careful and cautious. Hee. Sir, the novel_fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Lu Chongqing, looking at the letter, felt a warmth in his heart. Through the fragmented memories of Xiaohua, he knew that Xiaohua had started causing trouble in the Myriad Beasts mountain range and the Imperial Spirit Sect's domain. The last known location was in the border area between the Qingyun sect and the Spirit Taming sect. However, such information was subject to delays, hence Shao Xia only received the news now. In fact, this was also one of Xiaohua's calculations, done deliberately. By causing a commotion in these places and drawing attention, He could then directly head to Bai Lake Mountain. Because Xiahou Wuwa also knew that Bai Lake Mountain was not far from the Qingyun sect, deep within the Qingyun region. If the Qingyun sect discovered him and sent pursuers, it would be very dangerous. Immediately, Lu Chongsheng replied to Xiao Xie, indicating that he would be cautious. As for the fact that Xiahou Wuwa had already died on Bai Lake Mountain, he did not mention it. Although such correspondence was highly confidential and would self-destruct if someone attempted to access it, with numerous methods within the cultivation world, it might still be intercepted by some means. Half a month later, the endless guileful head finally succeeded in transforming the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. If it were not for the suppression of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, with the current power of the endless guileful head, it would have been impossible to transform the dark demon corpse into a ghost slave. After completing the transformation, Lu Chongxing placed the endless guileful head into the Yin corpse bag, specifically designed to contain refinements of corpses. This knowledge came from the corpse refinement inheritance memories of Xiahou Wuwa. Such creatures mostly required to be placed in Yin veins, turbid qi, and special refinement lands for nurturing. Only in this way could the refinements slowly grow and increase in power. If kept outside for long periods, absorbing too much of nature's spiritual energy, not only would they fail to grow, but they could even regress. This Yin corpse bag, which was also obtained from Xiahou Wuwa, was considered a treasure. Ordinary first and second rank refinements placed inside could be enhanced. For refinements like the dark demon corpse and the endless guileful head, which were third rank, it had little effect. It could only ensure that the refinements would not regress. If they were greatly exhausted or damaged, they could also slowly recover within the Yin corpse bag. However, to advance their growth, aside from being buried in a third-rank corpse nurturing ground, they needed to be fed with flesh and blood and re-refined. Husband. It's a letter from Fairy Zhao. That day, Lu Miaoyun indicated that Zhao Qingqing had sent a letter. Lu Chongxing opened the letter and read it. Zhao Qingqing informed that she had successfully broken through to Foundation Establishment and invited Lu Chongsheng to the Qingyun sect to join a small celebration. Broke through to Foundation Establishment successfully? Lu Chongsheng murmured with a light chuckle while looking at the letter in his hand. He was not surprised by Zhao Qingqing's breakthrough to Foundation Establishment. Given her spiritual root talent, preparation, and the probabilities, the odds were not small. He then planned to visit the Qingyun sect later to attend the small celebration. Not only could he catch up with a good friend, but he could also meet Xiao Xie and see the children of the Qingyun sect who were cultivating. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report so we can fix it as soon as possible.